the end to one of the most disappointing Miami Dolphins seasons in recent memory. When you compare expectations relative to the end results, disappointment might be an understatement. TUA, McDaniel, and the offense fail to come up again when we needed them for the second game in a row, when the defense gave them chances. We're going to talk about it all, and I know the pressing question is going to be what's next for McDaniel and TUA. We'll talk about it all with the crew. It's Dolphins After Dark, a post-game show. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get into it.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again! Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphins fan. Let's go! What is good, Fins Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And we are back here for the final post-game show. Ball game. He's first one up here. Louis, EM, and Martin are about to trickle in. Tough, bro. Listen, let me just get it. How you feeling after that loss? Let's start with this. Where are you at after that loss? Because before we went live here, you said, and you made a good point, and we've said this kind of the last couple weeks where there's no defending this. And again, we come to a point where McDaniel, TUA in the offense come up short. There's no defending this.
Yeah, I can't. Generally I think to myself sometimes, man, like when I see certain behaviors or I see certain trends that happen and I don't see a change to them and they repeatedly show up in points throughout the game, I find those to be unsettling flaws in the nature or in the makeup of who the individuals calling the plays, man. And as our head coach, man, I think sometimes there has to be some system in place that you can go through in the checks and balances and say to yourself, I just don't have what it takes to be. I don't have to be he doesn't have to be the guy calling the plays for the success of the offense to still resonate in his, and be associated with his name and him get the credit for it. I see a lot of similarities between him and Shanahan, man, that are scared. They're downright irritating me, man. That these guys, man, and their lack or their inability to effectively get out of their own way and do what's best overall for the team now at this point is really telling. This is 2 years in a row now, man, where we've seen a collapse happen. And even in moments when after TUA went down last season, there were games still that we could have changed the outcome of those games, but Mike didn't make the calls and didn't change things. I mean, Kansas City is a savvy enough defense with a head coach who has oodles and oodles of experience to know that what you showed them when we played them in Germany, you can't come back out here with the same damn game plan, bro, and think that that's going to work, because they had answers for you then. So you don't think they're going to have answers for you now in the playoffs where they're healthy, you down. You got to have some wrinkles or something different to throw at them. And on 3rd and 2, and then again on 4th down, all you can think of is to empty the backfield and throw. Like the running game to me, man, is the number one symbol that a team has that says we're willing to out physical you, we're willing to be physical with you, and you abandon that at a time where that's probably the only thing you had going that was giving you any type of momentum. This dude, man, it's really disturbing, bro, that he just can't seem to get out of his own way. And the craziest thing to me is that you have this staff around you that is littered with NFL experience and guys probably just as smart as you. But none of these dudes got the backbone to fucking pull you to the side and be like, Coach, you're killing us right now. Mm-hmm. Like, I still, to date, and and all of my, like, when I used to go to the Pete Carroll's, I used to go to Pete Carroll's coaching clinics. Mm-hmm. He said the worst place to ever call plays from is on the sideline. He said because there's too much shit going on down there in the sidelines that you have to focus on. He said, and as a head coach, if you find someone that you can trust to run your offense for you, so that you can just focus on being the coach, that's the best thing for you. Because most guys, they get away from that shit when they find somebody that they can trust. You mean tell me in 2 years he can't find nobody to take over that responsibility? So it's not him?
Well, I think listen, and EM's joined us, and Louis is about to come up here too. Listen, when I broached this, everyone thought I did it a little too early. Maybe I didn't do it as early as people thought when I brought up the fact that maybe Daryl, if this doesn't work out, Daryl Bevell should be calling our plays. Now, EM's here, Louis is here. I'll let them get their thoughts on the game. But, I mean,
what's good, gentlemen? What's
good? Example is that 3rd and 2. If you knew you were going to run back-to-back plays on 4th down and 3rd down, why aren't you running on one of them? And then the other one, play action. What like basic stuff? Like, I don't know, man, but it's deeper than that too. I think this falls at the doorstep of Tua and McDaniel, because this offense, for now 2 weeks in a row, the defense gave us a chance to pull away and make plays in that second quarter, especially.
Let them down
and put the pressure. And this offense let them down, man. Again. And that's just what it is. And listen, you won't find a guy who supported Tua than me, but you ain't going to hear no pushback from me when people say, would I pay him? I wouldn't pay him right now. The problem is, and I'll keep telling people till I'm blue in the face, is the $15 million they're going to save so they can keep a guy like Wilkins and stuff. That's what they're going to make whether they're right or not. I think they're going to, if you ask me to put my house on something, they're going to make the business decision. That's what they're going to do. But let's start with McDaniel here, okay? Let's start with McDaniel here, because what's up, Louis? Someone made a point here when they were talking about, undisciplined, inconsistent execution, bad play calling, McDaniel and, situational football. First of all, what are you guys' thoughts on it? And what are your thoughts on how the game ended, EM? What are your thoughts on McDaniel? And because Tua is going to be its own thing. So let's talk about your thoughts on how the game ended and McDaniel.
Man, listen, this is the second week in a row I am truly at a loss for words. I'm struggling to really kind of put my thoughts into words. It's just a complete meltdown, and not just the last 2 weeks, but if we're gonna be real about it, it's been really for the better part of 2 years, right? In December, in January, and I'm here. I don't know if somebody got some feedback. Does my audio sound fine?
No, you're clean.
Yeah.
I wanted to add, well, we started off December, other than the Titans game. We started off December on the right foot, but then we just collapsed.
Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, and I understand the injury narrative. I get that. I understand how important, when you don't have your guys in there. I get that. But there is no excuse for, 7 points. And again, listen, for all those people that was killing Fangio, man, y'all owe that man a massive apology, because he has done a masterful job considering the hand has been dealt to him as far as injuries. Back-to-back weeks,
a better job than McDaniel with the injuries.
Absolutely. We talked about this privately. Reason he has shown, he's given McDaniel the blueprint on how to overcome.
You want to talk about McDaniel? He's playing right into Fangio's hands. That especially if they bring McDaniel back in the underachievers next year, Fangio's going to knock on the door and say, hey, maybe I should be the head coach.
My only issue.
So wait, is that breaking news?
No, but I'm saying
is that
only-
speculation?
Listen, that's speculation, but listen, if you're a smart man, we know Fangio. I've been told privately he wants to coach, right? And the thing is, he sees the collapse. He sees the. Remember, I brought it up last game. The whole atmosphere, the clubhouse atmosphere. If I'm Fangio and I say, hey, I'm already getting in with the players, they're starting to trust me, they're starting to like me, but I'm a little more no nonsense. I won't accept this bullshit. Maybe the discipline shows up, maybe the execution all of a sudden shows up, and I'm just saying he might listen, I'm gonna tell you this after tonight. If Tua, I'm gonna talk about this with Omar Kelly, and we'll talk about it tonight. Tua and McDaniel, they're probably gonna if they underachieve next year, boys.
Say it.
If they
Turn up.
They gotta shift the dynamics of that relationship, bro.
I think because of business purposes, they're gonna come back. But something's going to happen, and I'm going to say this. Either McDaniel's going to feel the walls closing in if they underachieve again, and he's going to pull what McVay did to Goff, what Shanahan did to Garoppolo. He's going to pull something like that, or Greer, Tua, and McDaniel are going to be out the door because it's not just two of them tied to hip, it's all three of them.
All three of them.
All three will be out the door. Something's going to happen. Like, listen, I'm telling y'all, McDaniel's going to get the pass of the injuries because of how extensive they were this season. I guarantee you. And Tua's going to get he's going to get extended, but there's going to be an out in there somewhere.
Let me ask you though.
I'm telling you, man, something's going to go. Something's going to drop. And they're going to, if they underachieve and they can't get out of the contract next year, they're going to draft a quarterback.
Should he get the pass though? Because most of the damn injuries over on Vic's side of the ball, and Vic's fucking Vic's guy still showed up. Should he get the pass though?
You know why? Because he's gonna say Tyreek was banged up for the first time in his career.
Waddle was hurt.
Waddle was banged up.
Connor Williams was hurt.
We gotta hire a fucking condition and strength coach then.
Listen, there's no bigger fan than me, boys, than A-Chan. Why did we get away from Mostert after the 3rd and 2 drive where we got all of a sudden pass happy? Did Mostert get hurt again? Why did we go away from Mostert? Was chewing them up. What are we talking about?
None of it makes sense.
And then it was all of a sudden, it felt like Flores. It felt like we're going to get the first half from Myles Gaskin, then all of a sudden they'd go bring in Jordan Howard and say, here you go, Jordan. And you'd be like, what? Like, what? Like, that guy's screaming for the ball. What's going on here?
At the end of the day, McDaniel has failed, and he's completely fallen on his face to really develop a third option. Whether that be running backs out of the passing game, out of backfield in a passing game, or a legitimate third option, right? Because when this offense has been too Tyreek and really, really Tyreek centric, but Waddle as well, you have to diversify your approach. And again, we'll get to Tua in a minute, but at the end of the day, that is where his biggest collapse has been, I think. And again, the inconsistency in terms of his situational play calling has been well documented. But I think overall, when you evaluate the offense as a whole, where's that consistent third option?
Let me ask you this, EM. 3rd and 2, 4th and 2. One of the 4th and 2 was a screen to Tyreek, right? If I correct, if you want to get the ball in his hands, why aren't you motioning him out of that wing back or out of a set into the backfield? He was a running back in high school and college. Run him for the 2 yards up the middle.
I know.
He's gotta get the ball.
I know, right?
I know, right? Off the motion. Say, oh, look at this. We're actually running. You throw him in the backfield anyways. We're here and now and then. Why don't you actually run him then?
Yeah.
Bro, why is the guy on YouTube coming up with that, bro?
Creativity.
What's the guy on YouTube? Because here I am. Now I'm going off on McDaniel. Now you're going to get it because there ain't no bigger supporter of your ass than this guy in this community. I wanted you as an offensive coordinator when they decided to go with Godsey and Stutesville, and I still stick with that. But where was your counterpunch all year? You didn't even bring back the flick play. You didn't even bring back the fake swing Then the angle back to the running back. You didn't even bring that. You brought no diversity. Ballgame talked about it. You brought no diversity to your game plan against the Chiefs. You had put this whole game plan on tape the last 8 weeks. And what did you really do different against them than what you did against Germany? And then when Mostert is screaming, feed me, 3rd and 2.
Throwing the ball.
When it's close, let's throw back to back. When that's what's working.
Yep.
And this Flores did the same shit in that Tennessee game. Put the ball into his hand when Duke Johnson was saying, feed me the ball.
Yep.
And it was working. This is basic stubborn shit. I don't know what you got. One guy wanted to disprove Tua. You got one guy wanting to prove Tua, but they're doing the same goddamn thing. Listen, look at them. They ran, when you look at them tonight, when you look at how many plays they ran tonight, and you look at how even they kept it. They threw the ball 41 times, but they ran it 34. We threw it 39 and ran it 18, and it wasn't out of reach until when? Until what? It wasn't out of reach till what? 3 minutes left in the third?
Yeah.
And we only had what, 2-3 drives after that?
I mean, it's like I just don't. I don't get. And again, this is a ball game can probably answer this better than all of us, right? How do you not, as a head coach, how do you come out and your offense is that fucking flat, bro? There is like no juice at all,
teams, bro. Look at the kickoff. You defer to them, and then look at the kickoff you give them, and then when you go 3 and out, look at the punt, a 28-yard punt.
I mean,
like what are we saying with our life?
Bailey got to go. Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, there's no level of. I don't think Vic's allowed to do much in terms of, you know what I'm saying, discipline or get them cats ass. And Mike's not that guy. Mike's the feel-good guy. Mike's the, I don't want to be like Flores and beat you down, so I want to be your friend type of shit. But these are grown-ass men, bro, and like there's a lack of accountability that starts from the top. And it's
clubhouse vibe, I'm telling y'all
there's
about.
There's no fear, bro. There's no fear.
As a Penguins fan, I saw this twice. I saw it with Dan Bilesma, and then I saw it. I've seen it again with our new guy. It's a clubhouse atmosphere. But the thing is, at least the Penguins won fucking Stanley Cups, and then it became a clubhouse. This shit, we ain't won nothing, and it's buddy. Oh, hey, clubhouse buddy. We all got each other's back. Fuck
shit
that
don't work,
shit,
bro.
man.
Yeah, that shit don't work.
Bro,
you can go to that shit after you winning, bro. But you can't do that when you're trying to learn how to win.
Themselves tonight. I wanted some guys going into business for themselves tonight, because then maybe we would have got some fucking results.
Well, yeah.
Let me say this.
But I thought this is what everybody wanted, though. Because what I'm hearing is no lack of discipline. We got to get players' asses. We're too friendly. But this is what we were all calling for, because we had that. So we can't have it both ways.
There's a balance. There's a balance that comes with that shit where guys still know that they're gonna be held accountable. See, like for me,
look at McVay.
See, like for me, right? I watched the play. Like we sat there and watched it. And this shit, man, I almost broke my damn cell phone tonight watching Duke Riley. When Patrick Mahomes on his second run for the first down, they got them down to the 6-yard line.
He didn't even touch him.
He did. He tried to touch him with 2 hands. Man, what? Any player.
And Eli Apple was right there too. Any
player that I've ever seen that ever played for me, they would look to me. They would come to the sideline and say, "Coach, if he take off, I'll take the penalty. Can I kill that motherfucker?
Kill him."
My players,
I was
like, do you, baby? Make him. Come on, man. And
bro,
do Riley. Lay this motherfucker.
You're not trying to. You want to
exactly. This is a playoff game, and you're gonna sidestep this motherfucker.
He's a runner at that. He's a runner at that time, bro. I would have been foaming at the fucking mouth, trying to knock his goddamn head off. I said, "Oh shit!" My eyes would have lit up like a Christmas tree.
Well,
I was like, "Oh man, bro!"
In that position, he's getting like hit and he's back flipped, and he's getting destroyed. in that position, but
And they
Mahomes was
letting this
playing two-hand
motherfucker-
touch.
Yeah. Shit. But
Yeah,
that's
man.
that's I don't know, man. I mean, I was and I try to always caution myself to not get into this whole thing of calling players soft, but that was a soft ass play right there. Like,
Yeah, for
if
sure.
nothing
That's
else,
a fact.
for me, I can't even. And he fucks up all the time, but I gotta give Baker credit for last week having his fucking arm fractured and still throwing his throwing himself into that tackle to stop the dude before he scored right there before the half. Look, Riley out here, fucking Olan on quarterback. The quarterback, bro.
Yeah, not even.
You know how embarrassing that is to be a Dolphin fan and know that starting middle linebacker for you is out here Olan, a goddamn quarterback, bro. That said everything. That set the whole tone for what really and truly has been some of what happened this season. Defense played well in spurts.
But you know what though, with all that being said, I'm just as frustrated as you were on that ball game. But at the end of the day, man, you know, the defense played well enough, bro. They had us in that game. I mean, you can only be on the field for so long, bro. And I mean, the offense gave them nothing. They gave them absolutely nothing. And they fought. They fought hard, bro. They kept us in the game. They didn't quit. There was no quit. And again, this defense deserves a lot of credit. The last 2 weeks, really,
1,000%.
You know, it deserves a lot of credit, bro. But fucking McDaniel, man, McDaniel, TUA, they have to figure this out. Something. Well, I mean, we can theorize all day as to what the issue is, right? I know something.
Should McDaniel be in the hot seat, gentlemen?
Oh, absolutely. Going in the next. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That
seat is scorching hot.
I'm going to tell you this right now. I think he should. I think I agree. But the subjective side of me says yes, scorching. The objective side to me says that he's going to use the excuse and get the pass. And that's why next year's going to be, if injuries or not, if you don't meet expectations next year, you're probably done.
Oh, he out of there, bro. He should get one more year.
So I think he'll be not on the hot seat when he should be, but if you don't meet expectations, it ain't gonna end well next year. That's what I think. Like, but then again, you know, what if we go to the playoffs again and now he says Ross has never tasted the playoffs 3 years in a row like that? I don't know.
Let me pose.
I'm not happy with this. Ain't nobody really happy with just getting there now at this point. You got to do something.
And especially with the talent that you have.
14-3. I picked that to be 14-3, and I expectations were for me to not only win a playoff game, but to be one of the series people in that AFC Championship contender. You know, I thought and if health worked or permitted, I thought we'd go to the Super Bowl. The problem, I'm going to tell you, it goes back to the preseason. It goes back to the preseason, EM. This is what it comes down to. I said by the second time we faced the Patriots, that was my quote. I said it all offseason. I said it preseason. I said it when the season started. Second time you figure the Patriots, by the second time Belichick sees you, you're going to be figured out. Yep. The tape will be out. You will be figured out. And the conversation we always had privately and the things I would bring up publicly, what had me salivating, I said all offseason, was McDaniel didn't have a counterpunch to what the Chargers did him with the rerouting, right? He didn't have he showed that he didn't have counterpunches late on in the season. And I was like, as a guy who says he's there every day at 3 a.m., who's this OCD, who thinks football the way he does, you had to think he was going to have like so much in the bag that he was ready if you started figuring things out. If you started taking away the middle of the field, we expected him to, you know, get ways to manufacture space for guys outside the hashes, get them open, or, you know, not have to abuse screens just because for what I've never seen someone love screens as much as this since Chan Gailey was here.
Well,
I mean, you know, there was no counterpunch.
Let me ask you guys this.
This guy was ready to go 4 rounds when you got to go 12. Sorry.
Absolutely. If Jim Harbaugh makes the phone call to Stephen Ross and says, I want this team, I can win with this team.
Can I not lie to you?
Y'all making that move?
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to talk to people because you remember how I was on Harbaugh a couple of years ago. EM, how I had the news going on with there and stuff, right? Because I have a connection to Harbaugh, bro. I know one of his best friends in the coaching community. I got a link to that, all right? Listen, when this went the way it was, I said to myself, I'm not even lying to you. And this is not what I want. I'm not saying this is what I want. I'm telling you, the thought popped into my head. Well, Harbaugh announced that he's not right. And I'm thinking about what we did to Sperano, right? That's in the back of my head. Harbaugh announced he's not seeing the Chargers till next week. Not like he's meeting the Chargers tomorrow. Was Harbaugh waiting to see how this game went? Because remember, listen, I got to tie in and the angle, like that whole Minnesota. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all right now. Do the research. That Minnesota, remember how Harbaugh went to Minnesota after the Flores thing came out? Right? Buddy, that was all a song and dance. That's what that was. That was supposed to be he goes to Minnesota because Ross and him are billionaire buddies. It looks like a real threat. Ross says to his Michigan alum, hey, if he's going to go anywhere, he should come to Miami. And that was going to be his whole angle. I'm not taking him from the team. I'm not taking him from the school. I'm making sure he don't go anywhere else. And I know, buddy, did not Sperano not take us to the playoffs? And that offseason, after the Wildcat, that offseason, this man's sitting in Harbaugh's den trying to get him to go to Miami. I'm not even saying
and also,
suggesting. I'm just saying you got to think like Ross. Ross is out there. Ross, you don't know how desperate he is. The problem with Harbaugh is turnovers coming if Harbaugh comes, and I don't know what it's gonna be.
Sick, man.
I'm not here.
Hey, but you might be. Listen, I know it's speculative at this point, but you know you got the connection with obviously Ross.
Research. Don't worry.
But you definitely have that big connection to Vic Fangio. He was his defensive coordinator in San Francisco.
And he just won a national championship. And he's been to a Super Bowl. Ross is, people don't realize. Okay, you remember why I knew we wanted Harbaugh so bad, right, EM? Yeah. The things I would hear from Harbaugh's camp about how bad Ross wanted Harbaugh. Like, you don't understand. This is his. Have you guys ever seen Have you guys ever seen a Hot Tub Time Machine?
Yeah.
Y'all seen that movie? You remember when they're talking about the girl? Great White Buffalo. You know what I'm talking about? The girl, the one that got away? Yeah. That's what this guy, you don't understand. Now, he might be happy with McDaniel. Again, I'm not saying. But what I was basically to be told back then, before we hired McDaniel, Harbaugh was his Great White Buffalo. Now, I don't know his level of happiness with McDaniel. I'm just going based off of stuff I heard in the last coaching search from people connected to Harbaugh very, very closely. That's all I'm going to say. So, because it was close. The Flores thing is why Harbaugh didn't come here. That's why. It turned Harbaugh off because he couldn't leave Michigan for now this scandal. Now, I don't think listen, McDaniel's brought you back-to-back playoffs 1 year without the quarterback, this year with all these injuries, but a healthy quarterback who got all these, as people want to label them, hollow, they want to call him hollow or not. Stats mattered. He was your passing leader. That matters. So, I'm not going to sit here and I'm just telling people I know how much Ross loves Harbaugh. Go back to did any of us think he'd be sitting there courting Harbaugh after what Sperano did? Any of us? Raise your hand.
No, probably not. But again, I want to pose a question. If he called and said, I want this team, are you, any of you gentlemen, making that move?
I'll let them handle that.
That's a tough one.
Don't worry, guys. I'm going to get to your donations in a second.
Because in all actuality, to be honest with you, it takes a good 3-4 seasons for everything to actually truly reveal itself. Yeah. So if we pull the trigger and go premature,
like I've said, you won't know TUA and McDaniel's ceiling as a coach, play caller, and quarterback in this offense till the end of year 4. That's right. In a new offense. That's how it works, basically.
I don't know. I'm not as frustrated as I am tonight. Right. I'm still not. I can't co-sign pulling the plug on McDaniel just yet, because again, you got to take emotion out of it, and you got to evaluate from the macro, right? And so overall, he's done more good. It's been more positive than bad. I mean, that's just a fact. So
here's the thing.
You get one more year, real quick ball game. You give him one more year with McDaniel and Tua, right? You figure out in terms of Tua's contract, bro. I think Tua has earned a contract. I don't think he's earned the opportunity to reset the market, right? And
but
there
I
should
told you I never think he's going to. I don't think he's. Do people really think he's going to get more than Burrow?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
He's going to fall somewhere around Herbert's money. That's where he's going to fall around. And Herbert's a couple million short of Burrow. That's what's going to happen. But the interesting thing is going to be where the outs are and how it's structured. That's what's going to be interesting for me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was getting ready to say, there needs to be some type of protection in there from the Dolphin standpoint, right? You move, and durability, right? Yeah, kudos to him. Kudos to him. He was healthy for 17 games, but that's just 1 year out of what, 4?
Well, that's why I'm gonna tell you this, boys. If they underachieve, don't you think if they underachieve this year, you don't think they might even try? What if they try to draft a guy to play out the time until they can move off the contract? And so they got one guy on a cheap rookie contract. So you're technically playing a quarterback. What if they you saw what happened with Purdy? I mean, what if that could be their fallback plan is, okay, we pay him this year. We pay him 4 or 5 years. We put that out in year 2 or year 3. If it don't work out this year, we start drafting. We invest a high pick and we bring in some competition. If it goes that way, we can eat that contract for a season, or we can trade him and then we can move off of it. I mean, that's another smart way. But the problem is they're probably going to want to restructure that first year, right? So you probably can't move off them until not next year, not next season, but the year after, minimum.
All conversations, I think, unfortunately, we're going to have at some point. But for me, from a coaching standpoint today, I saw an ineptness in us. I saw us face again a team that we've seen in the regular season. They didn't change much. They just executed better than us. I watched a younger team with a head coach who I think is phenomenal get their asses handed to them on Christmas Eve. Then they turned around and beat shit down the legs of that same team that beat them today. I watched the Houston Texans, who don't nearly have the fucking roster that we have, dismantle
That's a fact.
Joe Flacco and those Browns by changing up. And D'Amico didn't come out there with the same lame-ass game plan, thinking that it would work. They completely attacked them differently. They completely did everything differently than they did in that first game. I watched both games, and I'm telling you, this shit comes down to a lack of play at the biggest level, bro.
Well, you know what confuses me, ball game?
There'll be some changes, man.
Do you think Kyle Shanahan, you saw how he coached him in San Fran. Do you think he would have got away from Mostert early on when Mostert was showing that stuff? Do you think on 3rd and 2 he would have passed 2 times in a row? Or do you think he would have given that ball to Mostert?
Nope. But you know what Shanahan's issue is? Shanahan also gets into one of those spaces where
but at least he gets the lead.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But no, I do think Shanahan is notorious for getting away from the run game. He did it at Atlanta in the Super Bowl. He did it in the Super Bowl against Kansas City as well.
Okay. And so on the way to the Super Bowl in Kansas City, what was Raheem Mostert?
Well, yeah, he did run for 200 against Green Bay that game. I get it, but still.
And what was that game? Do you remember how close that game was and how cold that game was? You remember that?
Yeah.
That was a cold, close game in Green Bay. Let him have it, Raheem. Just saying. And tonight, Raheem's out here, 8 carries, 33 yards. One of those, like, listen, can I just read? I gotta like listen to this, okay? All right, I just we have to say this, okay? Listen to this, like, turning the ball over here, okay? It's 13-7, all right, It's the second quarter. There's 7.5 minutes left. 8 yards to Raheem. 4 yards to Raheem. 3 yards to Raheem. 6 yards to Raheem. 3rd and 1.
Nothing.
Let's pass it twice in a row.
Twice in a row.
So we stall out at their 44. You could have reset.
Man.
You could have reset it down. And then what's worse is how you start the game off. You start off. No, not even with the game. Listen, 2nd and 9, right? You run it. You get 1 yard. So now it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and long. Austin Jackson, 5-yard false start. So now you're at 3rd and 13, down 7-0 to start the game. All right. Then interception drive, right? The interception drive, the play before the interception, 3rd and 1. H-Chen gets 2 yards, moves the sticks, illegal formation, which we've seen how many times this year in critical moments. Yeah. And then what happens? Bad penalty, 3rd and 5. Now we got to pass the football, interception. Like,
lack of discipline.
This team's their own worst enemy.
Yeah. In these critical moments, though, teams are a reflection of the coach. You know, if you're not in practice, going through
110%
situation. That's
and we took a delay game. Remember, we took a delay game because in the game couldn't get the play in time.
You know.
There's no I was going to bring this up earlier, but in terms of McDaniel and the climate that he's created internally, I get, you want a coach to be, to be more approachable. You want a coach to be more player friendly. I get that, but there still has to be an element of fear that everybody acknowledges, you know what I mean? And it's like McDaniel, when you see the self-inflicted wounds, the penalties, the drop balls, the just mental errors, bro, that's a complete reflection on a head coach. And again, he's going to have to find that common ground of where, you can be approachable with your players, you can care about your players, right? But you have to instill fear in them at the same time, bro. Because again, it just seems this is 2 years in a row, and especially, and again, not to make this a McDaniel Flores conversation, but we didn't have we weren't losing games because we're undisciplined under Brian Flores, right? It was a talent issue on offense, right. And at the end of the day, bro, he's got to figure, and that was go back to when we hired this motherfucker, right? Pardon my language, gentlemen. But that's what I said. I said, bro, this is the biggest concern that I have, right? Because you can sit here and you want to be the happy-go-lucky guy, go play PlayStation and over Tyreek's house and party with him and all. Bro, all of that is cool. But when adversity comes, right? When you need that general, and when everybody's in the foxhole, right? When we're playing upper echelon teams, everybody needs to know that fear needs to be established there, and they need to, everybody needs to be on the same page in terms of everybody's held to the same standard. And it's just like, these self-inflicted wounds, and it's the 2nd year in a row, bro. We saw it last year. We're seeing it again surface this year. So McDaniel definitely, because obviously they're not good enough to overcome, their mental issues. They're not.
They're not good enough to overcome that and him.
Well, Ballgame, Louis, let me ask you guys this. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Fangio's been a head coach. Fangio's been in the league for over 30 years. He was under Harbaugh. Remember, we already got one of the boys here. Yeah, you didn't think about that connection, did you? We already got one of the boys here for Harbaugh, bro. I didn't even think about that, huh? But, okay, Greer's Stephen Ross. What if they, what I keep thinking to myself?
Swap spots, fuck it.
No, if they asked Fangio what he thought his first year under McDaniel, and I think what Fangio's going to say is, man, I see the potential in the kid, but I think, you want my honest opinion, he's going to say he's not ready to coach in crunch time. That's what he's going to say.
Yeah, and I mean, and how can you really dispute that?
And I don't know if Fangio's a fan of that culture you keep talking about. Look at the type of style Fangio is, guys. You see a little on Hard Knocks, Do you think he's a fan of that?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think those two are particularly close, bro. I think, I understand that.
Look at Ramsey. Even Ramsey even tries to catch up with Ramsey. Even Ramsey's kind of like,
he's all right. Yeah, he's like, he's all right. He's all right.
That motherfucker walked up to Jerome and said, "Man, I was glad to have you back."
Yeah. Hey, Ballgame. We come a long way with Jerome Baker. I tell you, I said, myself and Louis as well, we talked privately about, the Hard Knocks episode, and to see him blossom. And again, he's gotten better. And I've acknowledged that publicly because we all know I wasn't the biggest Jerome Baker fan. Me and Ballgame used to go at it over Jerome Baker in the early days back in 2019, right?
Yeah.
But, he has gotten better, to his credit. He's been one of the more durable, with the exception of this year, durable players on the roster, right? He shows up, and that's that's the biggest part of the battle. At least you have to be on the field, right? And he's done that, and he's gotten better as a player. And to look at the respect that he commanded on that episode, I'm not in the locker room. I never would have thought Jerome Baker, was respected to the level that he is, amongst his peers. And coming into into this season, I thought it was a foregone conclusion that Baker was one of the ones that they were going to look to maybe move off of because of the size of his contract. I'm not so sure about that right now, Ballgame. You know what I mean?
Not.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that now. But go ahead, Lou.
No, I would agree. Just with Baker, I definitely agree. Man,
you need stability, man.
I mean, EM, listen, that's why I posed a question earlier about Harbaugh, because we were having that conversation, and I said, I'm with you, gentlemen. I'm giving McDaniel the third year. It's just frustrating because I believe in the system. I think the system works. It's just, and I know we'll get to TUA here in a little bit, but it's just the execution, man. For some reason, in the biggest moments, it not only the players, but just from a coach, it goes out the window. Ballgame, bro. It's like it's non-existent, and it's frustrating, man. It really is.
But Louis, listen. People are gonna try and spin it on Twitter because we stream on Twitter too. Over 720 of you in the room. Smash that like button. But okay, listen. People are gonna try and spin us all up here with talking to Harbaugh. But listen, take even whether we want McDaniel here or not out of it. Louis, you're posing a fair question based on Stephen Ross's history alone. Absolutely. Take everything out of it. It's a fair question. It's fair to wonder that and think that based on how this season ended, the last 3 games, Harbaugh being available and Ross's history with Harbaugh. That's a fair question to ask. That's not out of the realm of possibility because Ross, it's not like he's turning 60 next year, right? Right. And he wants to win before, he kicks the bucket, right? So, and his boy just won, again, a national championship. So you're asking the right and the fair question, Louis, about Harbaugh, to be honest with you.
But if you really are going to entertain Jim Harbaugh, he, based off his track record in the NFL, he's going to want total control. There will be no Chris Greer involved, right?
Well,
there will be no Reggie McKenzie involved. There will be no Marvin Allen involved, right? Yeah. It's going to be the Harbaugh show. And again,
let me ask you this. Would Tua survive it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, and then we don't in B, we definitely don't know how he feels about Tua as a player.
Right.
So I understand the intrigue.
I saw people earlier saying trade for Fields. Y'all are nuts. I do not I get.
Bro, I wouldn't even bring that up, Reason. That's ridiculous.
But but come on, bro. Ridiculous. We need a better passer than that. Please stop.
It's ridiculous. But if you are, though, there's again, I understand the intrigue with Harbaugh, but we don't know how he feels about the players on this team. As somebody, especially the momentum that he's created by winning the national championship and based off his NFL resume, bro, he's gonna want total control, and we don't know how he feels about the players that they've already traded for, spent draft picks on, right? All the development, the investment we made in certain, key players or whatnot. We don't know how he's gonna feel about those players. And if you bring,
I'm gonna have a conversation with. Man.
it could potentially be counterproductive, right? If you bring him in and he wants to hit a little mini reset button and bring in his own guys, players, coaches, etc., as opposed to just moving forward, with what you already have in place, right? And again, as frustrated as we're sitting here tonight, back-to-back playoff seasons, right? That's something we hadn't done in 30 years, right?
Yeah, right.
Again, overall, the offense has been the most productive under Mike McDaniel the last 2 years, and we've seen in 30 years, right? So you have a lot of things in place already in house. It's just you need to tweak a few things here and there. And I don't, and again, I love Jim Harbaugh as a coach, but I just wonder if you do make that move, is it going to bear different results, at least immediately? You know what I mean? As opposed to just sticking to the course and seeing how things comes out.
That's my problem. Right. I think too much is going to get retooled, and your window, it's not going to be now anymore, because the way this offense is structured, I don't see him even rolling with how this offense is structured right now. And that doesn't mean he's going to get rid of Tua and Tyreek, but we're going to be doing things differently. He's going to walk in here and things like, I know Butch Berry will be gone. That whole staff will be gone. Fangio will stay, right? So he pretty much will go to Fangio and say, listen, who's worth paying? Who's worth keeping?
Mm-hmm.
So Danny Crossman will be gone. And I mean, who's going to argue that move?
I do know this on the Jim Harbaugh, though. We don't have to worry about the lack of running game. I know that.
No.
I do know that.
And the play calling will improve. The
acquisition number one will be a motherfucking
running back.
Dog at running back. Full-fledged, like 3 down back. Like a motherfucker that ain't going to be having to tap out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? After 3 or 4 runs. That's why Marshall Faulk said the whole damn running back. The whole shit is fucked up the way it is now because cats ain't no dogs out there.
But again, listen, people want to talk about hollow stats. Mostert, you had 21 touchdowns, but between we didn't even use him. It was in December you were hurt, and then when you were back, we didn't even use the guy when he was screaming feed the ball. What the hell was the point?
But a lot of in terms of when you're comparing Harbaugh and McDaniel,
Harbaugh brings in Derrick Henry. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm ready to do that, but
but if you look at with Harbaugh, but
yeah. But there's a change. In terms of the heavy emphasis on the run game, that will remain
another year, bro.
Yeah. He is. I just again, like I said, I just wonder if it's gonna be, is it gonna be, are you gonna get different results, right? Especially in year one. So no, I don't think I think the play right here, the strategy is to give him another year, both of them, him and Tua, and hey.
Okay, so with the Tua, so now you said we all agree that in some way, shape, or form, if they both underachieve next year, they're going to be on the hot seat, or if the changes could come down the pipeline.
Yeah. So
now we're in this position where not only do you save $15 million this year, if you want to bring back a lot of these core players like Connor Williams and Wilkins, we need that kind of money. All right. Not only but then you can restructure them next year and save even more money. What do you do? Do you, instead of 5 years, do you make it 3 years with an out after 2? What are you doing here? A guy who's coming off leading the NFL in passing yards. People can say hollow stat. That's a terrible argument because it actually matters to be the NFL passing leader. Well, the problem is in the biggest moments, he didn't look like the NFL passing leader in the biggest moments.
That's why Tua hadn't earned an opportunity to reset the market. Based off his statistics last year and this year, being the passing leader this year, right? Leading in passing yards. Well, that guarantees you that warrants a contract. But if Tua would have come in and we would have had, in the biggest moments, Tua was clearly a top 1, 2, 3 guy, right, against upper tier competition. Well, he would have earned the opportunity to reset the market. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But he has earned a contract. They just got to figure out how to quantify that, what his worth is. And again, a lot is going to be up to Tua to accept that because he might feel like he's the best quarterback in the league. You know what I mean? He might be stubborn like Christian Wilkins and say, nah, fuck that. It's my turn. This is what I'm worth. And the Dolphins might have a different opinion and number assigned to him. And
definitely be on that bullshit.
Yeah, I hope he's not. I hope to God he's not. But Christian Wilkins played that same card, right? Mm-hmm. And that's another interesting situation too. That motherfucker with that goddamn roughing. Christian Wilkins, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, my bad. But hey, man, you got to
if he plays hardball though, what do you do? If he comes up to you and he says, "No, I want to break the bank. I want to be the highest paid player in the league." What do you do then?
No,
how do you handle that situation?
I'm gonna play here. And again, this is not a. Listen, I'm willing to extend to it, but I'm gonna play the same game I played with Christian Wilkins. Well, we have a certain number assigned to you that we think that you're worth. Take it or leave it. If you don't, well, we're gonna seek. You're gonna play on that 5th-year option, right? And if we win the Super Bowl, I'll write you a blank check. If we don't, right? Well, again,
or if you get to the AFC Championship and you win,
right. If you don't, listen, we're gonna let you walk. We're gonna slap the transition or franchise, the transition tag on you, and then somebody else will sign you away, and we'll get 2 first-round. We'll recover a first and a second-round pick for you, and we'll keep it pushing. But no, I think again, Tua has been one of the most productive players at his position in the last 2 years. I am very well pleased at his development and his growth the last 2 years. But I'm sorry, Tua is not, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes showed you why today, right? Mm-hmm. Undermanned.
He's the best player in the football.
He's again, and that player is the one you break the bank for.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. I agree with everything you said. I think he's earned an extension over what you've seen the 2 years, and you got to get out ahead of it. Where if he continues to develop the next 2 years and he does become that guy that wins it, because again, that was his first playoff game we just witnessed. So if he does become that guy who can win playoff games over the next 2 years, and you've already extended him, then you're kind of out ahead of it. And while other guys reset the market, but I do agree. I think he's going to fall in and around Herbert money. That's where I think he's going to fall in and around. And it's because of, last year he was in the MVP conversation when he was healthy. He probably would have been vying as a top 3 passer by the end of the season when it was all said and done. This year, he led the league in major statistical categories in his first healthy season. And then in week 17, we were vying for the number 1 seed. And in week 18, we were vying for the number 2 in the AFC East title. So, that's I agree he's earned an extension, but I do agree I would not reset the market. He has not earned Burrow money. I'm sorry.
I think for me, I agree as well. He definitely earned a contract extension, but this is for me. I think Herbert and Burrow both got over $200 million fully guaranteed. I think Lamar Jackson
218 and 215. I think so. I'll look at it.
Yeah, I believe Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts was just under 200. That's the number I'm looking to hit with 2. I'm not trying to get into the 200 range. I'm trying to do a Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts type deal.
You can't be getting more money than guys you can't beat, in my opinion.
You
beat Herbert and he's got more money, and Herbert making more money than a few of those guys.
Well, I can't do nothing about the Chargers being stupid, but overall, at the end of the day, we're gonna be sitting watching after this round, and Lamar sitting waiting on whoever coming to him. So, I don't know, that just don't make sense to me. That's all this money these quarterbacks making, but it's the most dependent position on the field.
It's a couple of Bleacher Report articles that just dropped. And since we're talking about Tua, you want me to send them to you? Reason why you can pull them up and we can kind of address those.
Yeah, send them to me.
All right.
They're probably saying he holding us back, and everybody they always put it on the quarterback. But should I watch Mike hold us back for 2 years now?
Okay, so here's the thing. Here you go. All right. Deshaun Watson has 230 guaranteed. Burrow has 219. Herbert has 218. Lamar has 185. Hurts has 179. Russell has 161.
See, I'm going in between that Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. I'm trying to get somewhere between there.
So here's the thing. Lamar Jackson,
190.
Lamar Jackson and Hurts have about 71% of their contract guaranteed. Herbert has 83%. Burrow has 79%. Yeah. I like that. I would listen. You won't get an argument from me.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I think Cincinnati made a mistake giving Burrow 218. Same with the Chargers, 217. I'm trying to hit that sweet spot. Anywhere for Tua, anywhere between Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, we should all be.
So what would that be like? So it'd be 185.
So Lamar got
190.
Lamar got 5 years, 260, and 185 of that guaranteed. All right, just so you know.
Shit! Don't play that. My bad. But go ahead.
Jalen Hurts, he got 5 years, 255 with 179 guaranteed. So they're still falling in the 255 to 260 range.
So 182 then. Give 182.
Yeah. Herbert got 5 years, 262 with 218 guaranteed. No, Burrow, he got 5 years with 275 with 219 guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm not doing
so
that.
I think you're trying to fall in around about 5 years. What? You're trying to fall in about 5 years with about 250, 245 guaranteed. And then what? You're trying to guarantee about like 180 of that?
180.
About 180, 185. Absolutely, reason. That's the sweet spot right there.
That's fair. Listen, because you make a very valid point. Listen, you're going to hear pushback to me, and you know why? Because here's what I'm objectively thinking about it like the Dolphins. If I'm the Dolphins, I come to the table and say, this is what Lamar makes. You can't make more than that.
That's what
1,000%. 1,000%.
And you heard I don't know if y'all heard during the telecast, you heard Mike Tirico and Jason Garrett talk about Tua's potential contract situation.
Yeah, but Jason Garrett said that he is the franchise guy in our.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he said Tua clearly he's done enough to prove you can move forward with him. So I don't think that's a question.
Let me go through
it's
some
just a matter of how much.
And questions from you guys. You guys can fire off whatever you want to say. Knight says, undisciplined, inconsistent execution, bad play calling, running on broken legs. I'm going to say fins up reason back to the drawing board for 2024. Rocky says, y'all think Cam Smith was a Fangio or a Greer pick? Judging by McDaniel's reaction draft day and Fangio's reluctance to use him, I think Greer, especially with his son having ties to him. I think that's fair to say. You know what I mean? I think that's fair to say, for sure. Kevin Lee says, time to move on, guys. Tua is not the guy. 7 points in 7 straight quarters is pathetic. Go get Fields and trade Tua. I'm done. I'm going to pass on Justin Fields. But I wanted to point this to you guys. I'm going to keep going the donations here, but I want to get your guys' quick thoughts on this because someone texted me after the game when we were about to go live here, and I'm going to read their text. I'm not going to tell who the person is, but I'm going to read their text. And no, it's not Neil. Neil's having a breakdown, though. Neil's out here saying he's done with Tua. Didn't want to come up tonight because he didn't want to ruin the brand. You know what I mean? So, anyways, but I got this. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I got this text message, and that's why I brought this up from Dolphins for Life. He said, we saw what an elite quarterback looks like tonight. Mahomes was ready, and he was lethal. Be honest, bro. We don't have that. Tua is good, but he's not elite. He's not a killer. I've seen enough after 4 years. I love that kid, but in reality, he's nothing better than anything we've had since Marino was here because the end result is the same. I don't care about the stats. We need someone who is clutch and can carry the team when needed. He's just not that dude. I'm also out on McDaniel, but not for the reasons most are. His teams are sloppy and not disciplined in big games. He doesn't get them ready, and he hasn't learned from his mistakes. He may well end up being great, but it won't be for Miami. We will extend Tua, but that will set the franchise on the same mediocrity merry-go-round we've been for 20 years. And what stood out to me, and the reason why I'm reading that, is because he said he's not a killer. And then you got Dolphins for Life says he lacks fire. We've seen it, though. But why haven't we seen it recently? Because, listen, I would agree that I saw that in Bama. I saw that in the first 2 years. I saw that against Arizona. I saw that in the first years. I didn't see that killer this year.
Your quarterback is prone to take on the personality of your coach. It happens a lot. Unfortunately, that is a true thing, true phenomenon that happens in the NFL and throughout coaching. The guy you spend the most time around, the guy you spend the most time with, you start to swap and pick up. You start to pick up tendencies, man, and start picking up personality traits too. Like at the end of the day, that might very well be something that's going on here. That's what I'm saying, man. They gotta find a division. They gotta find a line that makes sense. Like, what's his name? Andy Reid still chew ass, man. When Patrick Mahomes get out of sorts, Andy Reid was still getting his ass.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think Mike does that with Tua.
I think.
This is a young relationship.
I'm not saying go high. I'm not saying go hire him, but what you need to find is that you need to find that Vrabel balance where he was a player under Belichick, and he came under Romeo Crennel, Romeo Crennel came under Bill Parcells, but he was also known to be a hard ass, but he was also a players coach, right? But he's also a players coach. He's no nonsense, but he's a players coach. That's what Vrabel is too, right? He's no nonsense, but he's a players coach. It's all about finding the balance. And it feels like, I'm going to say it, boys, feels like we went from one extreme to the other.
But I hope, let me address your text, right? You know, I'm not willing to 100% co-sign that and say that Tua. I think in terms of the killer mentality.
Oh, the text. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. In terms of the killer mentality and quote unquote dog, right? I think a lot of people get caught up in his personality. And again, you can make a case that, that mentality is tied to your personality. I get it. But I'm not willing to. I mean, we've seen Tua fall short. Right, he hadn't been when we needed him the most up against these, better teams. He hadn't been the best version of himself. But and again, I understand, and the case can be made that you're not seeing that. I agree. However, I think players, right, in particular at the quarterback position, they can develop into that. And again, I've been saying this for a month now, right? Players have to, and I know that that's not what people want to hear, right? I understand that because it's frustrating because we all want to win now. But this is just the reality of an NFL developmental cycle. And again, players just don't develop physically, they develop mentally as well. And this falls under that whole mental umbrella. We've seen players develop into that. Is Tua going to do that? I don't have an answer for you, right? Because I can't predict the future. But where I'm at with Tua, because he said he's ready to move off of him, right? Mm-hmm. I think Tua, if you can, again, you evaluate his 4 years from the macro. He's gotten better every year. Everything, right? Every box he needed to check and get better at physically, right? Play on the field, etc. Things that, his deep ball, all of that, right? People said that he couldn't do that early on his career. Yeah. He checked all of those boxes. Bro, so why not?
Miami right now told y'all he could never play at an MVP level. They told you he would never look like a franchise quarterback. Hell, some of them came up here and started crying wolf and apologizing to everyone except me and you because they were wrong about Tua, but now they flipped again because
I'm gonna need a name on that. Who was that?
No, exactly who it is. And then in the last, what? The problem is in the last 4 game stretch, and now I'll add to it. What did I have us? Did I have us what? What would I have us? Okay, follow along with me, okay? We beat the Chargers, we beat the Cowboys, right? So there you go. We lost to the Bills twice, lost to Philly, lost to Kansas City twice, lost to the Ravens, right? Do we have another big loss that I'm missing?
Tennessee.
That's not a big loss. I'm talking about
teams
the big games hyped up going into it. Am I missing a big loss or is that it?
No, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
So what? 2 for 8. 20%.
It's terrible.
20%.
It's terrible.
And 2 is a big factor as to why. Listen, let's keep rolling here. Amanda says, and Martin's about to come up. Amanda says, I don't know if you haven't watched Hard Knocks, but to me, McDaniel doesn't look like he's coaching players up, working on players' technique. There's a lot of joking around and friendliness with his players. Bad sign. Well, to be fair, it's only like an edited portion. So to be fair, it's an edited portion. I can't sit here and I'm not gonna, but I get what she's saying. It's too much of a clubhouse culture is what she's saying. That's exactly what she's saying.
But we see too much of the same shit over and over again from game to game that is supposed to be corrected in your practices through the week so that you don't keep shooting yourself in the foot. So there has to be.
What was that game we lost? Was it the Ravens game where you saw the Hard Knocks? He's like, oh, practice this week was amazing. You guys look so. Remember, was it the Raven? And then we went out and got blown out. Remember, was it that game? I think it was we were talking about. Remember, he huddled them all together because it was his anniversary or whatever of whenever he got fired with coaching or he went sober or whatever. And he talked about how good they were in practice all week and how they looked like a team I wanted. And then we went and got blown out. I was like, oh, man, they should have edited that one out. You don't remember that? You guys don't remember watching that part and being like, "Ay, caramba, for real?" Like that. Like Joshua says, loss wasn't on Vic, but when he blitzes, why are there all the corners 10 yards off the wide receivers? It's easy pitch and catch for Mahomes. Basically, he's saying, why do we look like we're giving cushions?
I'll tell you why.
Looking like we're more in zone or playing that palms than we are just straight up man.
I'll tell him why if you want to know.
Go ahead.
He did that because when you look at what the alignments and the actual formations that Kansas City was lined up in, they were lined up in a lot of bunches. In a lot of bunch and in formation. Yeah, you can't get your hands on guys, so you got to play off. And it's anticipatory because you don't really know if you take the inside away, then you're giving the guy the outside. If you take the outside away, then you're giving the guy the inside. So we're just playing and hoping that the blitz can get there. The only guy that we had that can really.
For those who have watched the breakdown, TUA Tuesdays, what's one of my favorite sets?
Bunch.
Trips bunch, baby. You always get open. Underneath or vertically, someone's always coming open. And ball game, Mahomes is exactly right. You see, sometimes you'll see defenses invert the bunch, right? Yeah. Like they'll try to invert the bunch, or you'll see different looks, but ball game, and he abused us off of it, man.
Yeah. But you got to also consider the down and distance as well, right? Those were third and long situations when he was out in the blade.
Made him uncomfortable a few times too,
right? But why are you okay? If it's 3rd and 15, why are you pressing a guy anyway? The quarterback is going to get the ball out of his hands in under 2 seconds, right? Based off the pressure. Cole just was again sloppy in his technique and got Cole man.
Pre-game, someone said to me, and I put it up. If you go to the pre-game and like the opening, someone said, "Hey, Reason, defensively, who do you think needs to step up that's underrated?" I said, "You need to step up is Kohu, who's been getting cooked even inside the slot, even inside the slot now." And a couple plays,
like
they had him on that rotisserie grill all night long,
because I think he's not built for what we're asking in his defense. I think. Yeah. He looks like like Ballgame says, he looks like the UDFA in this defense because he wasn't brought on to be in this. And Matt Miller says year 1, 2, Tua was forced to develop his weaknesses under Mike McDaniel. His strengths are on full display, but his weaknesses like off-script stuff has regressed. PL says, disappointed with injuries and how things play out, but Phinside the NFL aided in making the good times even better and the bad times tolerable. Appreciate you. He says, salute to Mr. Ballgame and EM Dolphin fan. Rocky, we're the only team in the NFL that can run a QB sneak. That can't run a QB sneak. Even Brady could do it. PL says again, letting Ballgame and EM Dolphin fan know what's up. Justin, he says, Justin and Tua have the same resume in the NFL. Pyro says, whatever EM says, I disagree with everything.
You use a hoe for that, Pyro.
Craig says, I say screw it. Fire Mike, go get Harbaugh. Dubs MC, who remember it was him and Rhino's birthday last week, and they had to live through now this. He says Tua has played with zero confidence since Tennessee. God's Child says, as a Dolphins fan, I watch all the Dolphins videos like Little Yoda sipping, observing. TD Finstock was right with his takes, but F the beef, respectfully. And Franklin Higgs
what takes with that?
Our quarterback chokes in big games because the coach chokes with his play calling. I don't know. Was it that Josh Rosen was a franchise quarterback, or that Skylar Thompson was a
Skylar Thompson was QB1,
or was it that Tua would never be a franchise quarterback, or never?
Yeah, we would never draft Tua.
Or was it that we should draft Isaiah Simmons or Derek Brown instead of Tua, how would that have worked out? My Lord.
Yeah.
Let us know when we hit the right one, because
No.
I know is the wrong 99.9% of the time. Just let me know when I find the. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Benjamin says I'm taking CJ over Tua today.
That's a easy
Franklin
take.
says our QB chokes in big games because the coach chokes with his play calling. Noah donates. I don't even know what IDR are, but he donated 100,000 of it. Either I'm rich or it's like $10. And he says, y'all will be fine. KC fan here. Stay the course. Be careful what you wish for. Many teams would die for your offense. Be smart. F the Pats, Jets, and Bills. Tua is young. He will progress. Don't blow it up. That's a KC fan. Franklin said, is Tua allowed to audible and change a play? Well, we know of times where he's been given the opportunity to pick the play and they've resulted in touchdowns. And Taryn says, man, it was cold. Scary watching Wilkins giving people hugs like it was his last Dolphins game. He was at the game, was Taryn. Tua looked good the second half live, always improving. So he said Wilkins was hugging players like it was his last game.
Well, I told you. Listen, we've had numerous conversations privately. I stated it publicly. Once they locked Zach Sealer into that team-friendly deal, and if you look at those two, their numbers, the last 2 to 3 years, they're virtually identical. And you had also Seiler outperform him this year. Like a lot of people saying, oh, Christian Wilkins is going to get double digits. I said, bro, I don't think so. I said the guy who is out of those two, the more likely to get double digits, that would be the guy playing right next to him. He's outplayed him. There's no way in the world the Dolphins are they're gonna look at that situation, and there's no way they're looking at Christian Wilkins saying, bro, you're dope. You're $10 million better than what than your teammate there. There's no way. So if he's not willing to come down off that number, I think it's a foregone conclusion. Christian Wilkins definitely paid his last day. And salute to that man. I love Christian Wilkins. Appreciate everything he brought. Right? He got better as a player. He did everything you can ask for, in terms of development, etc. But at the end of the day, bro, there's no way he's 10, 12, $14 million better than what you already have. No way.
Dolphins for life says EM and Louis says listen, bro, I'm going to tell you this right now. He said Greg Sosa says it's not fair to the fans. You're going to have to see Tua and McDaniel together for at least one more year, and if they underachieve,
then you start.
At least one will be gone the year after. I'm telling you that much.
Right. Maybe by then you can convince Nick Saban to go into the NFL.
At 74. Listen, they're not going to hear me deny that Tua has been, the thing is, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and welcome, Martin. We've talked to this ad nauseum. Tua, it's not that Tua can't show up in big moments. It's that he just doesn't do it nearly enough to justify resetting the market, as EM said, is a great description when it comes to his contract money. I'll even agree with what Louis said. He makes a good point. Yeah, you can fall into that 140 to 150, 240 to 250 guarantee, 240 to 250 million over 5 years, but only, 180, 175 of that guaranteed, because, guaranteed 185 is guaranteed to Lamar. That's a good, listen, what are you going to say if you're Tua and his agent at the table? You got to think about it from both sides. There ain't a damn thing you can say to that. It's a damn good point, and it's fucking reasonable. Yeah. You still get paid. You still get taken care of. But it's coming. I know some people don't want it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It's coming. Get prepared.
Yeah.
What up, Martin?
Martin, what's good, homie? What's good?
What's up, fellas?
What's up, Martin? Hey,
Martin, man, that don't sound like that. Don't sound like little bro there.
Let's have him, Martin. Your thoughts on the game, your thoughts on Tua and McDaniel, and your thoughts on Tua's contract extension with the 5th year and everything.
In the game, outplayed from start to finish. Wasn't even close, to be honest. the score doesn't do it justice. We got. It's no different than the Buffalo game. If it wasn't for our defense, it would have been a lopsided win because our offense just clearly we've taken several steps back as an offense execution overall. And I heard someone also mention earlier they don't see the fire in Tua, and I concur. I concur with that 100%. Even though Tua is handicapped with a makeshift offensive line.
Martin, and even though in the first 2 years under Flores, but it seems like the last 2 years it's gone. Like you saw it in Arizona, and Ballgame said that's a reflection of your coach. Anyways, continue.
True. Yeah, I'm not saying we haven't seen it. But what I'm saying,
I agree with you because it's gone. I asked them where'd it go, and Ballgame said it's a reflection of coaching. I agree.
Yeah, there's something going on in Tua's circle. And in Tua's quarterback room or wherever, where the sense of urgency is not ignite like that. That's what fire means. Fire means you have a sense of urgency to get it done, to execute, to play at a different level. And this game, obviously, there's circumstances outside of our direct control. Hence the weather being at -4 degrees at kickoff, outside of our control. But what's always in your control is your effort, your intensity, and your execution. That will always be in your direct control. And on both sides of the football, early on in the game, our defensive line was getting blown off the football by Kansas City's offensive line. Isaiah Pacheco was pretty much about to go for 100 yards today if they didn't just put it in Mahomes' hands later on throughout that game. And again, it was a bend but don't break situation with our defense, but the offense had so many opportunities just squandered. You know, what weather aside, I'm just talking about execution. We didn't execute at all, not nearly enough to even have a sniff at competing in this game. So that's just the way it was. Also, with Tua in particular, we're saying let's extend Tua. Let's get ahead of the curve. Let's make it to where that 5th-year option won't eat up a lot of what we're going to need to retain a ton of players that we need to, sign extensions for. Even if we do extend Tua, I'm of the belief that we need to bring in competition. And what I mean by that is it's in our greatest interest to draft a quarterback. And what I mean by that is if a quarterback that falls in the category of let's almost like how what we see in Green Bay. If a quarterback falls in a situation where we're selecting in the mid-20s in this draft,
you can develop while you figure out Tua.
Sit him down, extend Tua like you would have done Aaron Rodgers when they drafted Jordan Love. Sit him down and make it very clear between the drafted quarterback and Tua. He will be the successor if you don't get this done. And it's not supposed to be used as a threat. It's just supposed to be about the business.
Are we about to see Bo Nix in Miami?
Boys,
Are we about to see Bo Nix in Miami, baby?
I can make an argument. If you don't have Patrick Mahomes, right, or a Josh Allen or maybe Joe Burrow, that should be the strategy every year.
Well, no,
I would agree.
Anyone you just paid too. Right.
If you don't have one of the if you don't have Mahomes, that should be the strategy of every team in the league.
And respectfully, that the reason why you have to consider that, and the reason why you have to take that approach, is because look at the result. Look at the result of these last few games. There's a clear, like I said, sense of urgency that was void in these last couple of games. And obviously we could say, well, it's against better opponents. Of course, it's against better opponents, but the execution will always be up to you.
Mike Harper says JJ McCarthy with Harbaugh. Don't give me JJ, please. No JJ.
Nah, no JJ McCarthy. I actually like JJ McCarthy's ability to throw. But as far as like the quarterback is concerned, he reminds me of like Trace McSorley. If that makes
sense. Who's the late sleeper that could develop into something? Did Hartman? Is he coming out? He's coming out, right?
I think so. Sam Hartman from Notre Dame, right?
He's the
that
quiet
transferred from Wake Forest.
Yeah. He's the quiet one that he could be the that late that guy who high IQ.
Yeah.
He reminds me of that guy that could be the steal like a Purdy. I've liked him since Wake. So
me too. He'll be like you said, Brock Purdy, but more so Kirk Cousins in my opinion when it comes to his approach. And how he attacks the position, but
just don't draft Spencer Rattler, whatever you do, please.
I doubt that's gonna happen. But again, and now with Mike McDaniel, right? I think Mike McDaniel. We've gotten 2 full whiffs as far as these last 2 seasons of Mike McDaniel and what he is, what he does.
Well, this is what I've said to them, Martin. Don't you feel like? Yeah. Especially if we underachieve this upcoming year and they're all given another year, when's McDaniel going to do what McVay did and what Shanahan did with Goff and Garoppolo? When's he going to say, you know what, you've seen me get what I can get out of this guy. I need to win because if I don't win, y'all are going to fire me. Let me go get a guy who I think who can take me to the next step. Because remember, I always go back to this, what people want to forget. Trey Lance is the reason. Mike McDaniel is the reason why Trey Lance was drafted. He's the one who made everyone a believer, right? Shanahan wanted Mac Jones.
Right.
McDaniel was the one who pushed Trey Lance, right? So now that gives you a taste of what he would actually draft.
Right. And honestly, what Brock Purdy is with the 49ers, I think Mac Jones potentially could have been as well as far as the same playing style. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's the same thing. And respectfully, again,
Shanahan's just a better coach than McDaniel. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean he's the godfather, and Mike Shanahan is the grandfather. You know what I mean? So he's just a version. He's another version of him. And again with Mike McDaniel in this game in particular, I don't know what it was about his play calling today, or about how how we were trying to emphasize the run, but at the same time trying to slip screens, and it was just not working at all. I was more curious as to what created the sense of, okay, let's abandon the run again. You know what I mean? I'm as soon as you go down 16-7, right? Clean slate. Run your offense. Run the football. Forget about the crack tosses. Run right down the middle with HN. Run right down the middle with Mostert. Run right down the middle with Hefe. Just run the football until the time comes and until you know it's appropriate to hit them with the play action pass and convert those third downs. Convert the second and shorts. It was obvious, bro. We didn't play our best game today, and that's directly tied to not only Tua but Mike McDaniel. And because that's the case, man, it was a disappointing way to end the season. There's no way around it. As good as we were the first couple of weeks out the gate, which maintained our number one status as an offense. We free fall as an offensive unit, execution wise, at the later quarter, last half of the season. And it's unfortunate, man, because again, the momentum was building, and whatever stopped it, whether it be that Buffalo game where we got blown out in Buffalo, or even that Tennessee loss where we just completely crumbled in 3 minutes. Yeah, man, we let this slip out of our hands as a team, and it's unfortunate that it happened that way. And shout out to Vic Fangio too, man. Our defense did the best they could, bro. Straight up, man. As depleted as we were on the edge, as depleted as we were in the back end,
I think he did a tremendous job. Tremendous.
Yep.
Considering the hand that was dealt to him as far as injuries, bro. I mean, you can't ask for that man to do a better coaching job.
He handled it. He handled it like a professional. You know,
Amanda says, I think TUA and McDaniel both lack the attention, focus, grit, and the fire and the desire. McDaniel's kind of rubbing off that nonchalant, laid-back way. Never seen TUA yell at players for the lack of discipline. Same with McDaniel. TJ says, silver lining, we get an all-star team back next year. We just need our head coach to learn from his mistakes. Dolphins for life says, salute to the panel. We suck, though, so I'm pissed off. D. Huggins says, dang, even Houston got a playoff win before we did when we thought we fleeced him in that Tunsil trade. Matt Miller says, Mike McDaniel was hired 2 to 3 years before he was ready. He never got to cut his teeth as a real OC for several years. Like most
very good point.
2025 and beyond will pay off.
And
Greg Sosa says McDaniel should have been stripped from play calling weeks ago. Tua should definitely be questioned if he's our future QB. Fans are sick of it. We are sick of the organization failing.
Bro, everybody snapping tonight, bro.
Let's hear from Louis. Let's get Louis some thoughts here. Go ahead, Louis. What do you got to say to that?
Man, listen. I said I'm willing to extend Tua, right? And I'm not putting all the blame on Tua, but for me, and this is my thoughts. Like, bro, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the moments and Tua not showing up because I get it. Listen, injuries. I get it. Coaching woes, first-time head coach, he has to learn. I get it. But the expectation, whether it's fair or not, and this is just for me, top 5 overall pick, your job is going to be hard. When you're picked in the top 5, your sole reason is to come and help this franchise, which I believe he has. But again, we were sold a bill of goods. So I understand the frustration when I see it in the chat or I talk to certain individuals. I can feel the frustration. We were sold. This is the best team we've had in 25, 30 years. We have all these weapons. We were sold something, and we're just not getting that production. And whether it's fair or foul, again, gentlemen, this is a quarterback league. We've all been watching football. We've all always heard the narrative. You win with quarterbacks, right? If you don't have a quarterback, you don't win in this league. And I'm not saying we don't have one or a quarterback. What I'm saying is, just how we've been killing McDaniel this whole time, which it's warranted, right? I do think Tua holds a lot to blame in this because, again, reason we talked about it last week, you brought up the numbers, I think 2-6 or something like that in big games. Now, again, a playoff. And what was the narrative? Remember last year? Well, if we would have had Tua in this playoff game, we would have won. Well, that was the same Buffalo Bill team that we played in the playoffs last year, and we didn't win last week. And Tua was on the field. And again, Tua against a matchup. These kind of games, you need your top 5 quarterback, which, again, we've been saying it all year. He's played at that level. He's put himself in that level. I need that top 5 quarterback to show up in these bigger moments. And, again, take the first 2 years away if you want to. Even last year, injuries, this year, bro, it just ain't enough, bro.
And Louis, quick question, and real quick, Reason, quick question, because I know I do. Does anybody up here have vices, right? Like things that you try to quit, but you just struggle with, right? But whatever it might be, we all have some type of vice, right? I'm starting to believe that Tua also has a vice, and because we've seen him play, like how you just said, at an elite level. Out the gate, week 1 against the Chargers, that was the best Tua we've seen ever, college or professional, ever. Tua was playing at not only an MVP level, but at an all-time level. I think Tua's vice is that he can't necessarily stay at that level. There's a fear there. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's a fear of being great, because people don't talk about that enough, right? Everybody wants to be great, but what's the price of it, right? What are you attaining? What are you acquiring? You're acquiring more attention. You're acquiring different responses out of the same people that you've been around your entire life. Things change around you. You have to adapt to the change once you become acknowledged universally as a great player. For all we know, there is something that Tua has to start learning how to deal with. And when it comes to being mentioned with the greatest players of your era and of your draft class or generation, what have you, it's like lifting a bench press. If you don't do your calisthenics, if you don't do your breathing exercises, your stretches, that first rep you try to push off that bench about being the best, that first rep, if you don't get that rep off your chest, man, it'll fall on you. And then who knows if you want to get under that rep again. I'm of the belief of that, man. You have to find a way.
Because see, this is like look at this, top 10 against bad defenses. People forget, right? Like it's crazy to me how quickly people get. So like, look at what he did against the Jets, right? So the Jets, don't look at their offenses. Their offense is terrible. But coming in against the Jets had the number 5 defense, total defense.
Absolutely.
And the number 2 passing defense. Okay, because I'm going to go to a point here. Okay, the Cowboys. We faced the Cowboys, all right? The Cowboys had the number 6 total defense, the number 4 against the pass, number 4 at 5 scoring, okay? That's the point that Louis is making, is that we have seen you perform. And we've seen you perform at a high level against these high-quality defenses before, but then when it's a crucial game or a crucial moment, that guy is nowhere to be found most of the time. He's nowhere to be found. Again, 2 for 6 in those big games this year. If that guy who was in that Chargers game where we had no run, where we had no defense and we had no run game, and he was just bombing. If that guy we played 8 games this year. If that guy went 4 for 4 and showed up 4 times this year, or he went 5 for 3 and he was 4 for 4 or 5 for 3, and one of those was tonight, do you think we'd even have this conversation? Do you think we'd even have this? But do you think we'd be even having this conversation?
No, absolutely.
And we're not even acting for him to be perfect.
The conversation we would be having, reason, with him being the highest paid quarterback in the league. That's the conversation we would be having if he was 4 and 4 or 5 and 3 to your scenario.
Exactly.
And that's
the problem is it's there. It's not like he's 0 for 8. You're 2 for 6, but we need you to be 4 for 4 or 5 for 3. That's 2 or 3 games. You got to turn that corner. And if one of them was tonight, oh boy, man, if you would have listened. Again, if you could have blown those last 2 weeks, y'all think we'd be talking about those last 2 weeks if we would have won tonight? If we got that guy in the Chargers game tonight, you think we'd be talking about that? No. And you know what? Mahomes, again, here's the thing. I'm going to go back to it. Listen, you guys were up here after the Ravens game. What did I say? Lamar would played like an MVP, Tua didn't. Again, Patrick Mahomes played like an MVP tonight. Tua did not. Not anywhere close to it. And here we are.
Yeah, man. And honestly, I believe Tua seemed, and it is just an eye test. Tua seemed overwhelmed mentally, and he was equally underwhelming physically because of the conditions.
But bro,
that he had to play in.
Conditions. Look at how good he. Listen, I know the wind wasn't there, but boys, and I know it was last year. How good was he in December in Buffalo last year when they had to remove all that snow and it was freezing?
He was great.
He was really good, bro. He played at that MVP. He played at that MVP level. He didn't even play half to that level tonight. Not even half.
Correct. He seemed overwhelmed. Overwhelmed, man.
It looked like that guy should get off the bus.
He seemed overwhelmed, bro.
Proper prior planning, prevention.
That's a difference in playoff atmosphere. That even though he did play well,
last year did feel like remember that? I know.
Yeah, but it wasn't a playoff game.
I know, but
it felt like it. Yeah, but there's still a difference, a big difference, right? But yeah, man, I agree with you, Martin. He just looked out of place. He looked like he didn't belong on the same field as Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, man, it's just it is what it is. I don't know what else to say, and Tua's gonna have to figure it out to get to that next level. Obviously, there's another level he has to get to, not hopefully, but he has to get to, right, for us to be a consistent, contender moving forward. He just got to figure it out, bro. I mean, I don't know. I do agree with you on, bringing in I think that should be, again, if you don't, everybody outside of Kansas City, right? That should be the strategy of every.
Look at the message. Look at the comment. It's something you've tried to stress to people.
They didn't learn how to win.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I've been saying it for pretty much all year. And it's just unfortunate that him and the biggest, most frustrating thing about the whole Tua and Mike McDaniel dynamic, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but both of them, in terms of they're on the same developmental cycle, the timing is just off. They're just both trying to figure their way out. Him as a head coach, him as a play caller, Tua as a player. People don't take that to account enough, bro.
And Tua because of injuries, right? Like McDaniel's his second year as a head coach. This is Tua's first full year in the NFL and only his second year in this offense. And Martin, tell me EM's wrong. He's right. Like, that's one of the EM's mentioned this to me before. He's right, man. Their trajectory wise, that's the problem. Guys are ready. More guys are ready around them than they are.
You look at though in how you like. I'll give you two illustrations, right? And reason you and I have talked about, Tua is not athletically. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. But he got
two big runs tonight, buddy.
That's my point. That's leading me to my point, right? Why are you not taking? And they were two big runs, right? He got a pass out of it, as well as get him on a perimeter and get him to in a position where he's using his legs. You heard Jason Garrett highlight that. He said, "Man, that I'm paraphrasing, but he said Kansas City was not expecting that, for Tua to for a bootleg to be called, and Tua was in a position to use his legs." He was like, "That might be something they can expand upon." Paraphrasing, but that's what his point was. Why aren't you doing that? You know what I mean? And it's like he's trying to figure out how to best utilize him. And again, that goes along with coaching as well. Again, they're just on the same trajectory where they are in time in terms of their development, and they got to figure it out. They have to figure it out based off where we are as a franchise, the talent on this roster.
We're ready to win now, and they're not ready yet because of where they are. And it's what we go back to about trying to tell people, listen, there's levels to this shit when it comes to winning. Hey, Burrow he's learned to win, but not at the highest level yet. He hasn't won the Super Bowl, but he's learned to win. He's learned to win a playoff game. He's learned to win an AFC championship game, right? Because what's the deal? Regular season, wild card, divisional, levels. There's literal levels to this shit. And listen, some guys have learned more levels than others, and some guys aren't there yet. And it's what EM says. The expectations and how this roster is built, it's ready to win now. The problem is Tua, due to injuries, and McDaniel, due to this is his first time as calling plays and being a head coach, developmental wise, they just haven't learned to win.
And I would agree real quick, Martin, because I would agree, and we touched on it a little bit earlier. I heard Ballgame bring it up. The reason that people in this community, though, right, and we all see them, and we always call them like haters. Oh, they're haters. They're this, they're that. And that's fine. There are true haters. But, bro, when you see a team like the Houston Texans that don't have nothing compared to what our roster looks like, right? Rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. Look at C.J. Stroud, some of the throws he was making today, some of the plays he was making today. So when I agree with what Martin and Reason and EM are saying about development, right? So I agree. But it's so frustrating just to hear those words when you're seeing other teams with not the roster construction that we have. Again, look at Vic Fangio. Look at guys on this roster, Darrell Bevel. These guys have played in big-time moments. But won Super Bowls, and it's just frustrating, bro.
Dude, and I get that, bro. But look at this. Like, what have I said? I've said challenge the seams, use Durham Smythe, and then get a guy after the catch. You can look at Brevin Jordan. The guy dumps it off to him for 5 yards. He takes it another 71 for a touchdown. Like, I know I talked to you and EM and stuff privately, and guys know I'm high on Nico Collins. Look at how open those guys were getting. Look at their holy jeez. And then you saw the one overthrow. CJ could have had an even extra touchdown pass.
Absolutely.
Remember, he overshot Nico.
Well,
He overshot him.
It's off the play action, though. It's off the
He
play action, though.
He missed Nico twice.
They
missed Nico twice today.
Established Devin Singletary, and they started eating off of it. And CJ, he only dropped him back 21 times to throw?
21 times.
Yeah, 21. Yep.
Only a couple of them were him moving out of the pocket and making a quick decision outside the pocket. And here's the thing. You saw it again. We saw it with Patrick Mahomes, but we also saw it with Lamar Jackson. I said in my keys of victory, motherfuckers having picnics in their pocket against us at times, bro. Just sit back there. What do I want to do? Now at the end with Mahomes, we forced him to throw away and into the intentional grounding. Sure, but there's a good portion of that game where he was just sitting back, looking. And again, what's the difference, right? These guys are taking what our defense is giving them underneath and then getting them in positions to at least settle for a field goal. We're,
and reason not to rain on any type of parade, but in crucial situations, in crucial situations, I've always measured quarterbacks not necessarily by how they play, but I look inside of their face mask and I look at their reaction. I look at their emotions. I look at how they're looking when they're before the ball is snapped. And respectfully, I think CJ Stroud has shown us by far, even with the small sample size, more poise in situations than Tua has so far. And it's not to say
he was cool.
But it's not to say that CJ Stroud is light years ahead of Tua in the developmental.
No, he looked like Tua when he has Connor Williams. That's what he looked like. That's what he looked like.
He's playing. But I'm just saying, even early on in the year, I don't know if you guys caught the Texans versus the Buccaneers and how that was a back and forth almost the entire game. And CJ had less than 1 minute to score a touchdown to win that game.
They should have had even more wins, but then he had that concussion, right? Like I've watched him this year. What's been most impressive to me has been his processing. His processing for how young he is.
It's off the chart.
It's really high level.
I am very surprised at CJ Stroud. I want to be
very high level.
His offensive coordinator is a smart motherfucker.
He is.
That dude been down there.
We took the run game coordinator. They took the passing game coordinator. That's literally who he is. DeMeco Ryans. We talked about this last week, right, Louis? I said DeMeco Ryans is like McDaniel, he's a player's coach, but he's more disciplined, no nonsense. And came over and he brought over the same offense to an extent in the West Coast, but it's just what is this? Slovic or
yes.
Slovic.
Yeah. It's the Slovic's just indoctrinated. It's just his version of Shanahan's offense. And ask EM how much I've watched CJ Stroud. Almost weekly after CJ Stroud would have a big game, I'd talk to EM and be like, man, imagine if Tua was healthy and we had McDaniel as our head coach in year one. Where would Tua be now in year 4 if we had him in this? Oh, you know where we'd be right now?
And another guy that nobody really would give him his flowers. Another guy that nobody would really give him his flowers this year, and he's made the playoffs is the Green Bay Packers quarterback, right? Jordan Love, right?
Jordan Love, yeah.
He's played with equally as much poise.
Very hard myself on the back all the time about this.
But that's what I mean by, like, when you see certain quarterbacks handle certain situations certain ways.
I want Stroud versus Love in the Super Bowl. That's what I want.
I would love to see that because it'll be a poised back and forth type stuff. But that's what I'm.
No, I don't want to see that. It's way too soon for them, bro. I don't want to see that.
I want Mike to be done fucking calling plays, turn that shit over to somebody else and just be a head coach. Cause you don't
Bevel,
see DeMeco,
you got
right?
the guy.
You don't see DeMeco trying to call no damn plays. He's doing his job. He's working the refs and watching his players and making sure that everything else is running straight. He ain't trying to worry about no fucking play call. Sometimes you just got to get out on your own way, man. This
Isaiah Mullins says the problem is good defenses have figured out our offense. We call the same route combos and never get to in a rhythm. Tua forces bad passes. The gimmick stuff needs to stop and force Tua to read the field to develop more.
You know, I noticed too, like you heard Jason Garrett talk about how I don't know if y'all caught that, but he was like, I don't know why they're not throwing outside the numbers more. They were giving that to him all fucking night. And I don't, and that's the biggest issue with Tua has the arm to make those throws consistently. I don't know why he doesn't incorporate more of those concepts in the overall passing tree, in the passing tree, bro.
And I don't know why they get it. And I don't know why the guy don't. I don't know. I don't give a damn how the guy feel about it. But Chase Claypool has been a bust at wide receiver. Take your ass back to being a tight end. That's what they drafted you at. Chicago failed on that shit. Well, I'm just saying though, bro. Like legitimately, that's what he played all of his damn life. You know what I'm saying? In college, that's what you got drafted as a tight end.
I mean, that motherfucker can't separate from me out there, bro.
That's my point. Go back to being a goddamn tight end, and you might have some success because we throw to the motherfucker less than anybody. We don't threaten them. That's what this offense is missing. Like it's easy to defend this offense now at this point after you don't seen it for like 5 or 6 weeks because then you know the only passes is gonna be off of play action and Tua's got to fit it in up over the middle linebacker in front of the safeties to Tyreek, who is what 5'9".
And ball game, I understand the approach, right? The foundational approach of the scheme of the philosophy. I get that, but when teams, why are you putting your quarterback in a position to where he has to make a fucking perfect throw 80% of the time?
Yes.
Why? And a lot of those throws wow us during the regular season. They blow us away. We're like, oh, but what would I say?
Windows are gone.
Exactly. What I say? As you play better competition, you get into December, January, into the postseason, those windows are going to be gone. And it's like he doesn't have a counter for it.
And they were today as well. The windows weren't there.
It goes back to EM. What did you just say? What was the last part you just said?
What's that?
What was the last line you said there?
Oh, the counter hasn't been there, bro. It hasn't.
You're gonna get me all worked up at 1:30.
Hey man, hey, turn up, goddammit, turn up.
Turn up about the preseason. I talked about it earlier.
Turn up, goddammit.
We said you learned against the Chargers. You saw what the rerouting against the Chargers, building off of what the San Francisco 49ers did to you the week before. We thought you were going to have something up your sleeve. Then early on in the season, you saw what the new wave was going to be because I said, me and you were excited and salivating. What's his counter going to be? This guy's OC. He's in the office. His OCD's in the office. He's got something in his bag. He knows he's going to have something for that second half of the season. And I even went out and told everyone, we are going to be figured out offensively by the second time we see Belichick. That's what I told everyone. Fucking check the tape. And what happened? Do you know what KC's probably saying to themselves? Did they look really much different than what they did in Germany?
That's that point.
No, they look worse. No, they look worse.
The fucked up part is that they did. Spagnuolo didn't even go as far as in Germany. He disguised the double coverage of Tyreek. This game, he had the fucking safety right down over the top, right down 4 yards behind the corner, and they double Tyreek. He didn't even disguise the shit. And Tua still threw the damn ball to Tyreek. And he got knocked out.
Yeah.
And what really bothered me late in the game was there was a sense of urgency to push the ball down the field when we were down by multiple touchdowns, right?
Where was
our ball game. That's where I just almost lost it watching that, bro.
And Tua was making most of the throws too when you're asking him to push.
And he was making.
That's when they were going outside the numbers. Was at the end of the game, bro. He was making throws outside the numbers, deep outside the end of the game. Third and 14, he's making a 16-yard throw outside the numbers, first down.
And in that moment right there, that completely drew my attention to Mike McDaniel Like, why wasn't this the game plan from kickoff?
Listen, I didn't finish
Why
my
wasn't
point.
this the game plan from
I didn't
kickoff?
finish my point. Like, we're talking about McDaniel and learning and stuff, right? Talking about the counters. Okay. We saw the 3-high shell early in the season. That was the first thing Belichick showed us. How many times have we watched the film and teams are replicating that, Martin? And have we seen them be as effective? We've seen that 3-high shell cause them issues when they solved it the first time they saw it by take everything they give you underneath, send them into a single high and pull them up, right? Take them underneath and take them have to take the curl and the flats. Take them have to take the curl and the flat and all that stuff away, and then boom, and then you can hit them. And what do they decide to do? No, let's just try to take shots, to the intermediate deep level on 3-high. Bro, that was one of the most frustrating things of watching the film this year too, was we would play differently against coverages we had already shown on tape we had the answers to. And it would be like, what are you doing? What are you saying?
We played this game not to lose.
Got a big ego.
Mr. 23 says hard to win big games when you're so focused on getting the ball in 2.2 seconds. We have to solidify the O-line and open up the playbook. And Amanda says, what is lacking with Tua when it comes to playoff against playoff caliber teams? Thoughts, panel. What's lacking with Tua when it comes to playing against playoff caliber teams?
Play calling experience play calling experience and experience in general, because in all of the places where you need to be solidified the most, we just don't have the fucking experience, and these guys don't show up. Plus, let's be clear, the strength of this team really this year was the fucking defense. The offense got figured out
by the end of it,
Yeah, I agree.
The offense got figured out by week 9. Defense carried us in a lot of games. And
we're still a defensive-led team, defensive-minded team, bro.
They got decimated over on that side, and it's just really hard to, So
honestly, I think Martin, it boils down to
Martin. You go, and then Louis, and then EM, and then I'll go. But go ahead, Martin. You go.
Yeah, I think honestly, the difference between when we played against regular opponents and then better competition, I think it boils down to messaging throughout the week, because every time we played against so-called tougher opponents.
What do you mean, bro? Adversity is opportunity. Haven't you learned that yet?
That's what it said, but again, when it comes to messaging, I'm referring to not making it a big deal. You understand? If you overemphasize execution, do what you've been taught to do. Don't panic. Run the plays. Execute. If you overemphasize that in particular, instead of creating a scenario where, oh, this is the big game, right? The big game, it doesn't even exist if you just focus on the fundamentals, the small things that you just need to enhance. Every time I saw Tua coming into these games, it seemed like something was told to him that he has to play bigger than what he's been playing prior to that, as far as how well he's been executing against other teams. If you overemphasize the execution and fundamentals and leave it right there, the big moments will gradually present itself. But to create big moments before they even come into existence, that's putting the cart before the horse, right? I think it was the messaging that caught up to Mike McDaniel and Tua when it came to these bigger games, and they need to address that. It's all about how you speak about the situation, not necessarily how you approach it. I think the messaging was the issue.
We lost Louis there, but EM, you're up, buddy. What do you think is lacking with Tua when it comes to playoff caliber teams?
Man, that's a very, very good question. I don't necessarily think well, let me be clear. I don't think we can all assign 100% of the blame on one guy, right? I do agree with Ballgame to kind of borrow his point for a minute, a portion of his point for a minute. Play calling, a lot of that has to again, like tonight, right? Why is McDaniel? Why is he not altering his passing concepts, right? When they were conceding certain areas of the field, and we've seen that again, going back to last year, and it continued this year, right? Situationally, depending on how teams are scheming us, It's like he has no counter for whatever whatever defensive presentation is. So you can't assign 100% of blame on Tua. However, right, Tua, it's like and again, this is just not a Tua issue. This is a quarterback. This is an issue at this level. Teams are not going to let you do what you want to do for the duration of a 60-minute ball game, right? They're going to take something away. Yeah. And so I find when Tua, and again, not to say that he can't perform well, but he's clearly not at his best when his first option is taken away, and which is Tyreek Hill. He is a different player. I'm not saying he's a train wreck, but he's not a different player when he has to go off schedule, when the timing is disrupted, right? Now you can say, he doesn't have mobility to get out of structure and extend the play and make a play down the field with his arm or his legs. No, I don't think that's the case, because I think Tua, even though he's not Lamar Jackson, he does have an element of mobility to his game, right? You can say, like, the argument is, he can't consistently throw the ball outside the numbers. I will push back on that immensely, because I think Tua, what he's shown this year, arm strength hadn't been a problem of his, right? You saw throws that when we had to play catch up, right? We saw him making those throws. And again, why aren't you doing that more earlier on? Why are you waiting till you're down 3 touchdowns to start attacking those areas of the field, right? Again, is that a Tua issue or is that a Mike McDaniel issue? I can argue that's a Mike McDaniel issue. So with Tua, again, I think it's a mental thing with him in terms of, right, knowing when to go out of, when one is not there, you'll see Tua, he'll be, he again, like to throw the when the ball sailed on him when he threw, the interception tonight, right? Tua was going through his progressions, but everything, again, they were sitting on everything underneath. There was really nobody open. Finally, I think it was Cedric Wilson, he shook free, and Tua, again, he felt the rush, right? He still had time, but the rush was clearly getting there. He got sloppy with his mechanics. The ball sailed on him, interception, right? So, again, I think that's a mental issue. He's not used to being. Again, that was a critical point in the game, right? And it goes back to what I'm saying about to my point that I've tried to make to people about that. You gotta figure. You have to learn how to be calm. You've got to learn how to process. You've got to learn to figure out to be the best version of yourself, mentally and physically, mechanically as well, right? His sloppy mechanic failed him on that throw. So it's all falls under that umbrella of development with Tua. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that is a part of sports, not just at the NFL level, not at the quarterback position, but sports in general. You hear Michael Jordan, bro. Like, everybody knows my team is the San Antonio Spurs, but I'm one of the biggest
the greatest GOAT of any sport.
Absolutely. The greatest athlete maybe in the history of American sports. And you hear him over the years, interviews. I've read books on Michael Jordan's, right? He talks about how to learn when they had to break through against the Boston Celtics, against the Detroit Pistons, against the Los Angeles Lakers. They had to figure that shit out, right? They had to learn how to do that. And I just think that's where Tua is, bro. And will he figure it out? I cannot answer definitively. I don't have a definitive answer for anybody. I don't know. I can't predict the future.
Him and McDaniel got to both learn the same thing.
Right, 100%. 100%. But I will say where I am with Tua, right? I look at the trajectory in terms that he's been on. He's been on an upward trajectory in terms of his overall development. A lot of the areas of his game that people said that he could not do this, he could not do that, he's gotten better, significantly better, right? We can make an argument for that. I'm willing to bet on. I'm a bet on that trajectory with Tua, which is why I'm not entertaining moving off of him. I'm going to take I'm going to be caution in terms of the money that we, in terms of the contract that we ultimately sign him to. And I'm going to have some language built in and some out clauses in the event, right? There's regression with Tua. But at the end of the day, I've seen this kid. I've seen him get better every single year under most adversity, right? He's gotten better every year. I'm going to bet on that trajectory, and hopefully they figure it out ultimately.
his growth pattern.
Let me answer this because everyone's had a chance to answer this. Let me answer this. So this is what I've seen, basically watching the film, going back to Alabama. This is what I see. What is the issue with him? There's a couple things. Right now, when you see him throwing off his back foot, he doesn't trust his protection. I don't believe in the whole one read thing or any of that stuff because we've seen how much Jalen Waddle has feasted as the second read alone last year.
Right.
I just think it goes back to what Kurt Warner pointed out when he did his breakdown. Outside the first two route concepts in this offense, there's not much to offer. We're one of the worst offenses built against hots, right? For hot reads for a quarterback is what he pointed out as well. We'll bootleg to the left and the hot reads to the right. You know what I mean? And it's over. It's a wrap. But listen, Tua. Okay, so there's some things with him. I think Tua, Tua will force the play. And I've talked about this breaking down the film for years. And there are times when he's at his best, he's not only in rhythm, but he lets the game come to him. And, Martin can attest for this, how many have talked about it on our film breakdowns. Too many times he not only forces the throws, but he forces the game. It's as if he looks around himself and says, I got all these weapons. I got to make a play right now. I got to make it happen. When no, I mean, we saw Josh Allen, we saw Lamar Jackson, and we saw Patrick Mahomes. How many times are they taking that stuff over the middle underneath for 4, 5, 6 yards and then letting their receivers do the work after?
Exactly.
It gets shut down right away or whatever the case may be. You got to take what they give you, especially in big games. You got to take what they give you. And then when the opportunity arises to catch them slipping, that's when you make your move. That's when you pull the trigger. We're pulling our trigger. Like, look at the one throw to Tyreek, that throw late in the game. He throws right directly into bracketed coverage. Did you guys see? Smythe was up the right sideline wide open. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He panicked. To a panic. He panicked.
Well, you can't be doing that. Can't be happening. Period. It can't be, especially in the biggest moments. But then when we see Tua and he's calm, and, you see the Samoan sniper come out. You see him locked in and just bah, bah, bah. And then, go to the Dallas game. We look like we could have scored on that final drive if we wanted to. We were just, the offense was humming. He was humming. Now, I do think McDaniel plays a part in this. In the terms of his development we've seen as a passer in this offense, he should be commended. But his play calling not only holds Tua back, it's held Mostert, Achane, receivers back, Smythe back. I mean, guys, I've said this for weeks, the past 3-4 weeks. It's been slapping us in the face. Feature Achane and threaten the seams, because when we've been threatening the seams, we've been getting 15, 16, 18-yard chunk seams. We go away from that. We go away from it. And instead of making that a focus, now I think we also come back to a problem with Tua, and what we've always talked about is how, when we talk about how much in structure he plays, and we're not talking about creating out of the pocket. We're talking about, you go back to Saban, he will execute the play down to the T. He will not stray from what you want to do. He will not deviate from your game plan. This is not going to be a guy you look back on in a 30 for 30 and Tua just went off game script and just started calling. That's not him. We've only heard 3 or 4 times where McDaniel's given him the option this year to call the play himself, and 2 out of the 2 or 3 of those times they've resulted in touchdowns, right? So I think this is a issue with, the main issue is Tua always, especially when we get down, Tua always feeling the need with, I got all these weapons, I got to force it. Instead of taking what the defense gives him and letting the game come to him organically and dictating the game throw. It sounds weird when I say it, but these guys up here will get it.
Yeah, that all comes.
As the game flow, dictate the game flow as it comes to you organically. That's what you got to do, not force the situation. When you force the situation, especially in a game of football, mistakes happen. And you create issues, mistakes happen. And in the playoffs, I know it's been a while for Dolphin fans, but in the playoffs, do you think we can afford bad penalties and bonehead throws and bad play calls and bad clock management in the regular season, how we can't afford it. What do you think about in the playoffs when it's one and done? And now these guys are going to be on their couch watching the watching the divisional round, eating a bag of chips.
Yeah.
So the problem with Tua, there's multiple issues, but I think the big one comes down to it is he doesn't, when he gets into a chance where he's got to force it instead of dictating the game flow as it comes to him organically. And yet I would go back to the 3 high shell, Martin, where how he destroyed it. Him and McDaniel destroyed it against New England. And then we saw other times this year when we broke down the film because of them forcing the situation, whether it be poor route concepts, long developing concepts, or Tua just forcing the read. They weren't playing it as well. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's it. You got to let the game come to you way more, Tua. You really do. And we've seen you do it. I mean, you know why I never buy into the first read thing? I don't always go back to it. Guys, remember Detroit last year? That Gesicki touchdown in the back of the end zone where he went like 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, back to 2 at back of the end zone. Tua can go through his reads. There's no problem.
He just has to get more consistent on going through his progressions when the heat is on. Consistency. Yeah. Right, when he's uncomfortable. Look at his pocket on that throw, Reason. He had 3 weeks. He had 3 weeks to survey the field and throw the ball.
It goes back to year 1 and year 2 under Flores, right? And again, this isn't excuses, context. When you don't trust the offensive line and you don't trust your receivers, you see these kind of mistakes, right? And we you saw, did you guys notice when they were getting penetration for the most part, it was up the middle tonight and throwing stuff off, right? And in a timing-based offense, when you throw the timing off, that's obviously going to be a big issue.
They did their homework, man.
Well, yeah, but we've also talked about how it's felt like lately he's been forcing it to Tyreek because Claypool's been dropping footballs. Cedric Wilson's been dropping. Everyone's been letting him down. And even though Tyreek will drop a football here and there, he's clearly far and away the most best and talented one of the bunch. So he goes back to them. Well, we've been screaming, and I know I've been leading the charge. Keep targeting Smite. He ain't letting you down. He ain't letting you down. He's getting you stuff, bud.
I want to look like next year. I want to see Tua more under center too, bro. You know what I mean? Again, I love the philosophy, the play designs, that Mike McDaniel implements, but I want to see him more under center next year. You know what I mean? Again, take advantage of those bootlegs, take advantage of those waggles, get Tua out on a perimeter more, right? Again, I think that can truly be an asset for this, for this offense. And again, you don't see those subtle differences. Like, okay, again, Ballgame can account for this, more than we can. But I felt like early on, McDaniel, and again, I'm not making it all about McDaniel, but I'm just like, I was looking at subtle, changes he could have implemented, like just moving the launch point, right? Getting Tua out, especially, and again, there was leakage. We saw, again, I'm not putting it all on the O-line, but there was leakage tonight, right? And you clearly saw Tua out of rhythm, uncomfortable. Why aren't you doing things to make things easier on your quarterback? Move the launch point, get him out on the perimeter, cut the field in half, get him more easy throws, bro. You don't see not only tonight, exactly, not only tonight, but we have seen that's been, we haven't seen McDaniel be consistent in that area at all, bro. Yeah. So hopefully they figure that out going into this year.
They're gonna have McDaniel and Tua are gonna have one more year, and if they underachieve again, something's happening. I'm telling you. Dolphins for Life says McDaniel's messing Tua up mentally. That pick Tua was trying to get the ball over the linebackers, and there were no linebackers, bro. That first pick was inexcusable, bro. He threw off his back foot, falling away. Like, I do think the air might have caught it and sailed on him, but still, man, that pick, that was a bad decision. And again, though,
no, I think the throw was their reason. I think if you look at him, he was open.
The throw was there.
But it was a bad throw. It was a bad throw.
It just sailed on him. Right. It just sailed on him.
Boys,
the read was there, though.
Because he didn't step into it and drive the
right.
Martin, how often do I talk about this on our breakdowns about Tua either doing the Curry, right? Where
Exactly.
he flicks the wrist and watches it, or stepping off the back foot and throwing. And how many times do I get mad because he doesn't? Martin, how many times do I get mad that he doesn't step through and drive the football? Step through and drive the football, and guess what? You're hitting him at the highest point. You're hitting him in the fucking face mask. That's on Tua, that interception. But still, even though I say it was a bad throw by Tua, it shouldn't have happened because we're on 3rd and 5 when we had just converted on the run with Achane, but we took an illegal formation.
Right.
We had
With Cedric Wilson
with the run game.
But see, this goes back to my point about it being a mental issue with Tua, right?
100%.
When the pressure is coming. See, you look at Mahomes, right? When he made that throw to beat Kohu, they was 3rd and 12, right? He had Duke Riley was bearing that. I mean, lit him up.
Saying, bro, it goes back to a consistency thing. Perfect example.
And that's mental. That's a mental issue.
But Chargers game, we had no run game. And look at the play where he stepped up in the pocket when everything was collapsing.
Absolutely.
He made to Tyreek. Where's that guy right now? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying, where is that guy? Dude, 110%.
And the response to that is he crumbles under pressure, right? And I don't think that's fair. Because obviously,
well, I don't know. I think we've got enough of a sample size, bro. Listen,
real quick, Ian. This year he was 20%. He was 2 for 6 in big games when he's basically 20. He's like 20 to 30% under pressure, which is not nearly good enough. Like that's it.
And to be fair, like how you said, Reason, Cedric Wilson, right? Illegal formation. Before that, it was a bad throw by Tua to run a quick screen play or something like that. And then you get backed up with that, and then a bad throw by Tua. It was back-to-back negative plays by the Miami Dolphins that led to that point. But like EM is saying, mentally you can't allow any of those negative plays to allow you
affect your process, bro.
Exactly.
How many times? How many times was Mahomes backed up 3rd and 10 plus tonight?
Third and 20
how many?
Sometimes.
Bro, you ain't lying. But also, can I say this? And this is it. Can I say this? There were a couple throws he made where guys were wide open past the sticks, bro. Kohu was getting cooked. Guys are wide open where all you got to do is make the read and let it fire.
But again, have we seen Tua make those reads consistently? We haven't seen that. He's been in that exact same situation, and Tua has missed a lot of reads.
Not down this 3-game stretch.
In particular, against upper tier competition, we've seen that from Tua last year. We've seen it this year.
Again, I already went over the numbers. Dallas and the Jets were top 5 defenses. So I have seen it, but I haven't seen it. You're talking about we're talking about complete. Because here's the difference. And Dan Quinn's a damn good defensive.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not again. I want to be clear. I'm not saying he hasn't done it. He just hadn't done it at the consistent enough to be.
The last 3 games of the season.
Right. We see we see from Mahomes. What we saw from Josh Allen do to us last week. Lamar. They do that routinely. They do that. You can tune in any particular week for the most part, and you see them making them play.
Didn't see Lamar play Arizona this year. It wouldn't have ended that well. But I get what you're saying.
So, but we need that consistency from Tua.
110%.
We need that.
This is why we all agreed with the point Lewis made that sure 240 250 million, but the guaranteed money's got to fall 175 to 180 under Lamar's money. That's why we all agreed with this. You ain't won shit. I'll be the first one to do to Tua. Hey, I support you. I've supported this team drafting you since Alabama, but you ain't won nothing. I'll be the first one to tell them that.
Yeah, we need that from Tua. We needed it this year. We needed it tonight. And
that's what Lewis's whole point is. We've seen the guy we need in these critical moments show up in other critical moments. But why aren't you showing up more often than not?
Well, that's what separates the greats. That's what separates the true.
Because that's what's frustrating. We know you have it in you.
That's a shared issue.
Like,
Yeah.
we know you have it in you.
He's got to figure
It's
it
not
out,
like
bro.
we've never seen it. That's the thing.
He's got
we've never seen it.
He's got to figure that out. You know, LeBron James had to do it. Steph Curry had to do it. Tim Duncan had to do it. Shaq and Kobe had to do it. Right? Peyton Manning, Tom Brady's. You know, the list goes on and on. They had their hurdles in terms of
Kobe
to be the best.
but Kobe not only brought in Shaq, Tyreek, they had to bring in Philly boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. To get him over the hump. Yeah. George. Yeah. Absolutely.
And none of those guys coaches.
Oh shit. So what you're saying, McDaniel's?
None of those guys coaches. None of those guys coaches were holding them back.
And to be fair,
so we're not going to be able to win without.
Why was this slim Narbaugh?
So what you're saying? We're not going to be able to win with McDaniel reason? Is that what you're saying, bro?
No, I'm joking.
Okay.
And to be fair for Tua, I think Peyton Manning is the standard
opinion?
as far as how he needs to play.
John Martin's opinion. I think McDaniel's going to get more leeway in the long run than Tua, because
I think
this year he can turn around and say, look at the injuries, and what I got is 2 back-to-back years. Last year I lost my quarterback. This year, look at all the players we lost, and look at what I was fighting for in the last 2 weeks. Next year, if Tua underperforms and he feels the walls closing in, what can he say? Hey, me and Greer didn't get to draft my guy.
Yeah, he said.
I brought in
y'all
your
drafted
guy.
him.
I brought in your guy that you drafted. Look what I got out of him. Now imagine what I can get out of a guy who I think fits what I want to do down to the T. Like, you see, people want to call excuses, but these things actually hold weight in these post end of the season conversations. And I think, if you want my honest opinion, McDaniel might have. Well, hey, bro, when the walls close in and it's you or him, in the trying to put your name in the pantheon of the NFL greats, what are you gonna do?
Oh, he gonna flip flop so quick.
Yeah. Shanahan did it on Garoppolo. McVay did it on Goff.
I get that.
Oh, he's flopping. He flip flopping for sure.
It's still a whole move, though. It's still a whole
and to be fair,
hey, let me tickle your cheeks while we're all together. But when it comes to that, it's pull it out, sharpen it, lick it a little bit, and right in the back.
Hey, but you know, that's just business though, bro. Like,
what are we talking about? We're not.
If you don't get it done,
get it straight. Are we saying we want this, or this is going to happen? No, we're saying this is the realities of the business. It's the same thing with Christian Wilkins and the Siler money. We're talking about the business aspects of this. It's the same reason why we think Tua is going to get extended with the money, but also why McDaniel is going to live for another year because of the injuries. These are real business things that happen when you look at it objectively.
Hey, at the end of the day, this is a results-based business. We're not here to be friends, bro. You are paid to do a job. I'm paid to do a job. If I cannot get what I need out of you to win at the highest level, then why do I need you? No.
I'm with
you got to go.
I'm with
you. You got to go.
I agree 100%. It's still a whole move, though.
Jonathan says, "Can I go live in the back room?" Sorry, brother. We're just keeping it with us right now. Dubs says after. Well, you can go, Ballgame. Let me just get these out. Dub says, after the season, does our team body of work attract or repel talent this offseason? What's your number one splash offseason move? Noel says, every QB is bad when he doesn't trust protection. Double down on the line, secure that, and he will perform. Hey, man, the only time we had our whole offensive line was when we put up 70 on the Broncos this year. And Amanda says, every good team that makes a run at the Super Bowl, they have a good to great running game. If Mike McDaniel stuck to more consistently, spots would open for Tua. Well, I think this kind of plays on to what you asked earlier about Tua being the guy. And I forgot to bring this up. If you look at Tua's always been one of those guys since Alabama when he plays his best game in rhythm and predicated off the run game. If that goes back to Bama, Tua's always been that style. But anyways, go ahead, Ballgame.
No, I was just saying that at the end of the day, for me right now, anything that this kid does, he has some bonehead plays here and there, right? Because he's on the field and he's one throwing the interception if that happens to be the play that he makes. But at the same time, your coach can't be over there motherfucking your coach can't be in a slump either. That's going to adversely affect your play on the field if he calling dumbass shit and he can't get out from in front of himself. So them being tied to each other and being locked in the arms with each other is we're gonna have to either accept it for what it is and watch them grow together and figure it out, or somebody's gonna definitely catch the axe on this whole situation. And most likely, unfortunately, if they commit to paying Tua 200 and some, giving him 180 some $85+ million, Mike gonna catch it before Tua will. They're just bringing another coach. You see that shit all the time. Coaches way more expendable than the player is.
Didn't they pay Goff?
Yeah, 100%.
They got rid of him? But didn't they pay Goff before they got rid of him?
Yeah, well, I think that happened just because of the fact that Detroit was ready to fuck. And
no, you know why it was? Because it wasn't McVay's guy. He didn't draft them.
Right, so he was able to use that. But at the end of the day, how many Matt Staffords are running around?
No, I agree. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. What would be your number one off-season splash move? I guess he's talking about free agency. And then do you think what we did is going to attract or repel talent this offseason?
Well, first, my bad, bro. Go ahead, bro. My bad.
All these motherfuckers go take that jiu-jitsu class that Tua took. Get tough
I know, right?
And get a better motherfucker and strength and conditioning coach, man. Because good Lord. And then I don't think at any point it's gonna repel talent. I think the fact that the Dolphins have an offense that's player friendly, that's gonna always be something that it's I don't know, man. I mean,
well, let me ask you this: is one of your big acquisitions bringing back one of your guys, like say Connor Williams, or do you go out,
that's the priority,
or because of his injury history, do you go out and get a guy who played really well this year and he's around the same age in Aaron Brewer from Tennessee?
No,
he can start from day one.
Well,
when's Connor going to be back?
Yeah, well,
but that's
I think the priority
and that's 2 ACL tears and 2 different knees in what 4 years or 3 years.
So brace him up and keep it moving, though. But you can't.
well, that way you can sign him. You can sign him for a lot less expensive than if he were healthy, right?
So
that might be a blessing in disguise.
Let me ask
you this.
Okay, we talk about a tight end. Would you guys try and get a sneaky signing like a Hunter Henry or a Gerald Everett? Guys who can threaten you after the catch a little bit.
Hunter Henry, yes.
I'm definitely intrigued by that.
And make Claypool ass go back to tight end.
Yeah. I think Claypool, and I know that might be an unpopular opinion right now, but
he'll be able to back on the cheap because he did not.
Yeah. You bring him on the feet and you make that conversion, bro. Like you can't. When you're in obvious passing situations, right, 3rd and long. Again, I understand that, not putting him in because he might not be developed as a blocker to the point you might need. But again, if you're in an obvious passing situation, bro, the defense, everybody knows and their mama knows that you're about to throw the ball, on 3rd and long. Why not have him line up in that slot, bro, and just run down the seam and threaten the seams, bro? He's what linebacker in safety is going to be able to run with him 10 yards down the field? Nobody.
I'll make an off-season prediction on January 14th. If he stays healthy, because we're probably going to be able to bring him back on, Isaiah Wynn might be one of the best re-signings.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're talking about next year.
We got to get healthy. That's the priority first and foremost. We got to get healthy.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys, what do you think about the point Travis Wingfield made on Twitter and Neil made when he came up here, that we look like the Ravens the last 2 years where they were banged up, injured, and then you look at what they are now that they're basically mainly healthy. Because again, our offensive line heading into that Bills game, 47% of our snaps have been on the offensive line have been taken by backups. No team in the playoffs had over 16%. The Bills had 4%. The number 2 team was 27%. And that's just, we're not even talking about Jalen Phillips and the snaps that have had to be filled in. Really, guys, didn't you watch today's game with some of that pressure we got? And the old guys were almost getting home. And it was like, what would the young guys have done? Like, they were having to hold Justin Houston at times. And it's like, what would have Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb done tonight? You know what I mean? Like, it feels like it could have been even a different story. Defensively, even better. We could have been even, I don't know, man. And then, you know, do we finish that Tennessee game off with a fully healthy team? And when we sealed everything up on Christmas Eve against Dallas, like, you know, this is why McDaniel's going to get more time, because these questions are real questions.
Those injuries mattered, bro. They really did.
I know a lot of our fan base don't want to acknowledge that, but yeah, injuries do matter. They really do.
Yeah.
So, but
I just hate the what ifs. Another year of what ifs. Like, we even lost AVG, bro. The only person that didn't get hurt this year was Tua and the Water Boy.
I'm of the belief this upcoming off season, everything should be prioritized of what maximizes your offense and equally what maximizes your defense.
It's the offensive line. I don't think it's Tyreek. I don't think it's Waddle. I think what maximizes everything we do is the offensive line. We could have made a lot more noise if you could have lost Tyreek and be riding with Waddle, and if that offensive line was healthy, I still think you can, because again, I go back to, we've watched this kid ball game between me and you and Martin. We've watched every snap of this kid for the last 4 years from an all 22 perspective and broken them down on this channel. You can tell to his tendencies when he trusts his protection and when he doesn't. Look at how much he was throwing off his back foot today because of those few times, just the 2 or 3 times they got penetration up the middle, because he still don't trust Eichenberg. He still don't trust Robert Jones. He don't trust these guys. And look at, someone texted me tonight, we were watching. We go ahead and pay Austin Jackson, and he starts looking like Austin Jackson.
Great point. Again, maximize your what makes your offense work, and maximize what makes your defense work.
But
go after personnel. Personnel.
Robert Hunt and Connor Williams. I want this to settle in with you, because I told on the Patreon. I'll tell it everyone here weeks ago. I've been told they want serious money, and that's kind of why we didn't negotiate. And then the Barry Jackson article came out. And he was talking about how he's been told by a league source that even despite the injuries, they're going to command more than $10 million each on the open market.
They might. That's why drafting is important, and that's why player development is important.
I guess we'll be O-line heavy in the draft then.
Something has to give, man.
Butch Davis, you know, Butch proved, whatever his name, he proved that he's
Butch Berry.
Yeah, fuck it, he coach of the year. He proved that he can get them figured out. So maybe it ain't so bad starting over. Just go get you some young guys, and then you got your 2 angles at tackle. Bring Wayne back. You only really filling how many spots, because fuck it, run away Eichenberg for another year. If you give him the spot, then he's confident, and you can keep building them up. Then if they want crazy money for those positions.
And to be real, ball game, there's also another aspect to this where you're looking at Jalen Waddle's contract, right? There's enough receivers coming out in this draft where we can move on from Jalen Waddle, just to make sure.
I wouldn't move him because you still. You gotta have somebody.
Well, no, they're gonna be moving off. The problem is Tyreek next season goes up to $34 million.
Right.
Then the season after that, Tyreek goes up to $56 million. But if you cut him, you save $45 million. Right. So that's gonna be if you look at how they structured Tyreek, and you go back to when they signed him. Remember, we were all talking about it. I might refresh your memory.
Yeah.
They structured it to line up with Waddle's new money.
Right.
We're gonna see.
They're expecting
you gotta have a carryover. You gotta have a carryover. Yeah, you gotta have a guy that's gonna take over the mantle from Tyreek. Otherwise, you basically starting over at that whole position, because Tyreek ain't gonna be around if you let Waddle go.
Bro, we didn't even have someone this year that could take the mantle from Waddle or no one even. Do you realize this? We asked someone to step up. Look at this, guys. We asked the receiving corps to step up in Waddle's absence when none of them could step up in the definitive number 3 role. Figure that one out.
That's another thing we got to find too. We got to find somebody that's as dynamic that because once you double Tyreek and the teams that have really good athletes.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. My bad, Baldwin. I'll be right back.
Once they double those guys, Nobody else creates anything for themselves, and that's just piss poor. Yeah. And so basically, we were right back to the same thing that we had when we had Devontae Parker in here. You take away the 2 top threats, everybody else is mediocre at best. Yeah. And you can't have that. You can't have that in because that's what I was always talking about. Like Tyreek was a guy doing all of the motions that really were the most dynamic. Why didn't Waddle ever run some of that stuff so that it would throw people off? Like when Tyreek was down and Waddle was the main guy. I mean, he had his best games, but at the same time, it was from a different. It was from a different set. Like we had more shotgun stuff, and he had more isolation routes for Waddle. But like, if he's gonna be the focus for the future, give him the same shit Tyreek doing, so that way teams can't fixate and know the difference between what you're gonna be running. You give your hand away when it's clear that you don't have the same level of motion and all this, because it was all predicated off of that anyway. I just didn't understand that. And then, Said tried, but he's just not the athlete for that. I think most teams, if you look at them, how they're structured now, they have they have either 2 dogs at wide receiver and a above average tight end, or they have 2 dogs at wide receiver and an above, or more than above average running back that they can rely on to be a third. You know what I mean? Like, you need a 3-headed monster, but our 3-headed monster is gonna have to be something that's gonna be a lot less conventional than a lot of other teams, because we're not as physical. We want to be a finesse team, right? Our running game was efficient, but at the same time, we didn't rely on it when we needed it the most. So the physicality of what we were trying to bring to the table, nobody really believed in it. Yeah. Even though the stats said one thing, we didn't show in the times where we were supposed to prove to people, okay, you put 8 in the box, we're still gonna run on you. We didn't do it.
And also, ball game Tua needs serious competition in that quarterback room. These last couple years, it's been guys that have been hoping for Tua to fall off instead of it being a legitimate guy that's
people told us Kyler was a QB1, bro.
Nah, that's not the case, man. We got to get a talented quarterback in here that knows his role, that he's here to be developed, he's here to root for Tua. Who do I like?
Yeah.
Coming into this draft later on in the draft, I don't know who's going to be there. There's no predicting.
Or even a young guy that's sitting out there right now on somebody's team that could be potentially brought in.
Sam Howell from the Washington Commanders. Oh. You can grab him. Sam Howell is the type of competitor that you will want in the quarterback room with Tua.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
Yeah.
I think they like him too much to let him go, though.
No, I think
they're gonna draft a quarterback. I think they're gonna go after a quarterback in this draft. Yes.
Bro. They have the they have what? They have a pretty high pick. They have the number 2 pick.
Number 2 or 3. Yeah, I think number 2. Number 2 pick.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
I think the quarterback for them is the least of their concerns over there.
So do I, but you know why? Because a new coach is gonna come in.
New coach and new quarterback. That's how it's gonna go.
But that's carousels, man. They do the same.
Now they might keep Howell for another year. So
they could.
Anyways, boys, final thoughts. Let's get out of here. Let's wrap this up. This is this funeral.
Oh, hey man. 11-6.
Almost 600 of you in the room too. Still at 2 a.m. I appreciate y'all.
11-6.
11-6, 11-7 if you count tonight.
Yeah, so regular season 11-6. Regular season record not too shabby. Could have been better. We need better execution down the stretch, man. Our coach has to accelerate his growth and learning process, because I think it's
so does the quarterback.
To some degree. It's affecting the quarterback, and they both can't be in this space where they're learning how to win together. One has to take the lead, and the other has to follow. That's just the nature of how this is going to be. And Mike, unfortunately, being the head coach, has to be the one, in my opinion, to hold a lot of this a little bit closer to the chest. Tua has his growth. He has his growth and development plan in front of him, we all can point out the different things, but I think we're all united on what he needs to fix to move himself into the next tier of quarterbacks in this league. But your coach has to be a guy that's able to. He has to be able to get out in front of himself, man. His ego can't kill him, and I just don't think right now at this point where this team is, you have a lot of time to waste. You'll be wasting guys' careers, and I don't think it's gonna be hard to find us in a space where we have a team this talented again. Turning over, to me, coming from the coaching perspective, turning over the play calling duties to someone else and entrusting them with that doesn't take away from your credibility. I think that actually adds to the fact that you're selfless enough to get out of your way and not want to bog down this team from the greatness that they could actually have, and then move forward. But we'll see how it all plays out. I'm hoping that somebody sits down with him in the offseason and talks to him and really puts the bug in his ear, man, and just say, listen, your greatness doesn't have to be defined by the plays that you call yourself. Trusting someone it's your offense. It's still your team. You're still the head coach. So, and he got to be able to see that, man.
Yeah. Shout out to KC. He says reason we're going to be more Dolphins After Dark is going to go through all season. And then it's going to go through the off season. It's going to go into the season. We're going to be launching it as its own channel. We're just getting y'all familiar with it, what it is. And then it's going to launch as its own platform. And then, to cross promote it, I'll still always be doing. I'm going to be having some changes coming that are going to be involving all the Dolphins After Dark guys. And I'll be involving them more in this channel, cross promoting, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, it's coming. It's going to be its own platform and everything like that.
More than just Dolphin talk.
Yeah, and it's going to be more like y'all guys got to realize you're getting Dolphins talk right now, but there's going to be more than Dolphins talk. That's why it's Dolphins After Dark. We're going to talk about everything inside, around, and throughout the universe, and maybe even outside the universe. Who knows? But it's going to be a lot of talk and stuff like.
Humanoids are here.
Yeah, the humanoids are here. Martin, don't start talking about the Bayside Mall right now, but give me your final thoughts about tonight and everything like that.
Yeah, I think what I've come to the conclusion is that Mike McDaniel has to reinvent himself in December and January. That's the Achilles heel of his coaching tenure. If he does not have a second gear in December and January, it's going to be the same thing next year. He has to bring
goes back to the counter punches. Where have the counter punches been?
He has to bring it, man. That counter punch. December and January is a clear Achilles heel for Mike McDaniel, and until he fixes that, then there's nothing to really talk about with him. That's his priority, if you ask me. So
gotta have more layers of that playbook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited for like 44 plays on Tuesday, Martin?
I mean, I don't think you have to go overall.
We got to do the postseason roundtable. That'll be coming up tomorrow. I'll have Omar Kelly. Sorry, tomorrow. I think it's Sunday. On Monday, I'll have Omar Kelly on. I'll give everyone a day to mourn, and then listen. Here's where I'm at. I'm gonna tell y'all. This is the most disappointed I've been as a Dolphins fan in a long time. They underachieved. TUA, listen, I love the stats like all of y'all, but TUA underachieved in the biggest moments down the stretch when they needed him to. We had ended up being a 4-game stretch. You went 1-3 in that stretch, 0 for 3 in the final 3. And you and our head coach in the big moments, you were the two that folded the most. Now, Tyreek had been folding too, but look at Mahomes. Mahomes made a deep throw. Receiver didn't adjust and make the catch. Tyreek did today. Tyreek did show up today, so I can't hold it Tyreek's feet to the flame. And I won't. Tyreek didn't have a big drop. He had a big play, and it was disappointing. It was super disappointing. Tua Tagovailoa, here's the fact of the matter. You gotta be more consistent in big moments if you think you're gonna reset the market. I agree with what Louis said earlier. You want to get your 240, 250 million, cool. you've earned a new contract. But I agree, 180. Forget what Herbert and Burrow are making. 185 million off what 260 guaranteed to Lamar. I'll give you 240, 250 with like 170, 180 guaranteed. But listen, it is what it is. This is where we're at. We've been asking for a quarterback. This is the result of a coach in his second year and a quarterback who just played his first full season and his first full healthy season and his first playoff game.
That's a big positive, by the way.
He's a fourth year in this league, but in a sense, this was a rookie playoff game. So got to grow, got to be better from here from everyone on offense. They let us down. Vic Fangio, the defense, you did the job. You really bounced back the last two games after the Baltimore fiasco. So and Danny Crossman and special teams, we had no big plays on our side. We allowed big plays in crucial moments. That's got to be flipped on its head too. So smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Got a lot of content coming up we're going to get into free agency, the draft. Who knows what the future holds, but the season's over. It was disappointing. Listen, I'm not happy with Tua. I'm not happy with McDaniel. And the reality is they're going to get given one more year, and then something's going to happen if they underachieve again. That's just the fact of the matter. Smash the like button. Fins up as they can be in these times. We'll see y'all in the next one.